The story instigated in a particular era, at a certain academy, where some believed that swordsmanship was justice itself, while others felt that magic was everything. Both parties clashed over their respective authorities, and at such a crucial time, those living in the present were utterly unable to contend with the situation. This uproar leads to the awakening of the mighty beasts from a long slumber, spreading a wave of fear among humanity. At the same time, the legend has returned, and the strongest man brought forth new hope in this chaotic world. Thus, a new surge of power came to pass, but that is a story for a little later. 1,000 years ago, a golden-haired man clarified that if he were to be defeated, then humanity would be destroyed. He is certain that if he could achieve victory in that battle, humanity would be saved. That is why he can't lose in this battle, because he is the holder of the strongest titles, Magic Master and Sword Saint. He is the pinnacle of humanity, the one and only Magic Sword Saint, Baryo Westgarden. Therefore, he is prepared to confront the beast and wants to begin that fierce battle. Baryo lunges toward the beast, emanating an overwhelming aura to strike his opponent. However, the bastard dodged his attack, so Baryo found it impressive, and he created a magic circle that exuded several slashes, and he asked the beast what he thought about it. The beast covered his body with a barrier, telling Baryo that it had no effect, so it's his turn to attack. He launched a substantial strike toward Baryo that made it hard for him to block it, so he cursed the beast. However, he didn't lose hope, so he used his special magic prism ruler, thus gathering all the elements. He clarified that this is originally an attack magic in his hand, but it can cut down everything in this world, becoming the strongest sword. After imbuing his sword with those elements, he told the beast that the real show starts now and wanted him to taste the strongest power of humanity to his heart's content. After some time, the blood is dripping down from the beast's injury, and Baryo is also injured due to the effect. The beast never thought Baryo could wound him this deeply, which is unexpected for him. Baryo smirked, asking him if that was his way of praising him, so he thanked Jirenhal and lunged toward him to land another substantial attack. Meanwhile, outside the tomb, the 4 demonic emperors came onto the cliff, and the leader was aware that the Magic Sword Saint and the Absolute Demon King were fatally wounded. That was the perfect opportunity for them to seize, so all of them raised their hands and cast a giant magical circle above the tomb. The lightning struck inside the tomb, and the person smiled cunningly, requesting His Majesty's forgiveness, as it was for the future, which would be 1,000 years from this moment. Meanwhile, the massive energy accumulated at the tomb while Baryo is attacking the beast. Jirenhal is startled upon seeing this, as he realizes what is happening, and Baryo is shocked as well. Shortly, they are swept up in that energy. That was an attack using demon magic, but the Demon King Jirenhal was also killed. While Baryo is falling, he continues to try to figure out the identity of the person behind this. As soon as he fell down, it started raining, and Baryo wondered if he was going to die there in that situation. Even during his last breath, he is still thinking about whether humanity would be saved and is worried that it might perish as well. He reached out, as he is the pinnacle of humanity and the strongest sorcerer sword saint. He cursed his fortune as he wanted to protect humanity until the very end, but that is how it ended, and he died on the spot. 1,000 years later, at Burrito Academy, in his second year, Daria Westgarden was being bullied and requested his comrade to stop it. However, another student told him to shut up, and then punched him forcefully, which caused Daria to fall a considerable distance. Other students were startled on seeing this, wondering if Daria was okay, and mocked him for being so weak and pathetic. The brown-haired student approached him, telling him that looking at him made him sick because he was half one. He is annoyed as Daria is studying both magic and swordsmanship instead of choosing one. He clarified that after selecting one of the skills, he should strive to master it, as that is his norm in this world. He realized that only then could he finally acquire decent power. He stomped on Daria's sword and book as he tried to lean both. The student is annoyed as he can't even use magic beyond the beginner level, and he is just a weakling who swings a sword around. He furiously grabbed his collar, telling him that he was an arrogant and useless person, then threw him against the wall. Daria doesn't care about what that student thinks and clarified that he likes the legendary Magic Sword Saint. Since the Sword Saint has a power that surpasses common sense, combining magic and swordsmanship, he wants to become someone who protects many people. The other student found it so annoying that he grabbed Daria again and kicked him. While Daria grabbed his chest in pain, the other student clarified that the Magic Sword Saint is just a legend. He kept kicking Daria, telling him that mastering both magic and swordsmanship is impossible for humans. He called Daria a loser, telling him to face reality, and clarified that that is what irritates him about him. The student told Daria that if he was serious, then he should demonstrate his power, surpassing common sense, by hunting a big monster. While leaving, he is confident that Daria can't do that, but Daria quickly agreed, as he knew he just needed to defeat a monster. Later, the protagonist is going away from the academy, and he looks back because no matter how much he is mocked, he is confident that if he keeps trying, he will surely master those skills one day. Suddenly, he faces a monster, which scares him to the extent that he starts trembling. Abruptly, the monster struck him with its claws that injured him severely, and he knelt. While the beast is roaring, Daria tries to reach out, wondering if that is how he will die. He thought, just like the magic sword saint spoken of in legends, that no matter what happened, he wanted to become someone who protected people, and he wanted to become that. Suddenly, a bright light shone from the sky, startling the beast, so he looked up. Abruptly, he felt an energy surrounding Daria and Birua, and their soul entered his body. Birua stood up, looked around, and wondered what was happening, as he should have died. He tried to stand, but because of the injury, he coughed up blood, and he discovered that it was not his body. While he was wondering what that wound was, he tried to heal his injuries, as he possessed a magic power, and so he did. He looked at the monster, wondering if that injury was inflicted on this body by him, and he saw blood dripping from his claws. The monster lunges toward Daria, making him realize that he is coming at him. He covered his hand with flame, telling the beast to stop, because the person standing before him now is a different person than before. He burned the monster to kill it, and in the end, it died. But he looked around and tried to figure out what had happened to him. After some time, he is relieved to emerge from the forest finally, and he looks around at the buildings, realizing it is a great city. Then he looked at the people around him, who were well-dressed residents of the town, with its beautiful streets. The protagonist admitted that civilization is more advanced than in his time. Just as he had expected, during the decisive battle against the demon king Jurenhal, and due to an attack by a demon tribe, he indeed died. Since he was unable to fulfill his role of protecting humanity, his soul was trapped in deep regret and was bound to this world for an extraordinarily long time. He was amazed to learn that even after he died, time continued in the real world. Therefore, it wouldn't be much surprising for him if decades had passed. After examining his uniform, Daria realized that the owner of this body was a student. After giving it some thought, the protagonist is certain that he should be able to gather various information if it's an academy, so he decided to visit the academy first. While at Burrito Academy, the two major departments are the Department of Magic and the Department of Swordsmanship, as it is one of the largest academies in the country. After arriving at the academy, the protagonist stood before a monument and remarked that it was imposing. He looked at the statue and wondered if it was made to honor him, so he quickly saluted the statue. However, his face soon turned pale as he realized it was his statue. He began reading the details, which stated that it was the legendary magic sword of the saint and the demon king's site of their decisive battle. He felt annoyed as he realized this academy might be built on that wasteland. He found it hard to believe, so he grabbed his head because that place was a barren land, and wondered how it could develop so much in just a few decades. Abruptly, he heard two students conversing about the year's marks, exactly 1,000 years since the magic sword saint defeated the demon king. The protagonist's jaw dropped in shock, and he felt like a thunderbolt had struck him after hearing them. While the other student is surprised to listen to this, he wonders if the magic sword saint exists, but his comrade is unaware of it. Daria shouted in utter shock that it had been 1,000 years, but not just a few decades, which startled all the students. Daria tried to understand why he suddenly woke up after 1,000 years. He looked at his hands, trying to figure out what had happened to the soul of the body's original owner. Furthermore, he didn't defeat the demon king, but the demon tribe's attack killed him. He wanted to learn what happened to the demon tribe that killed both him and the demon king. Daria realized that he needed to investigate the past 1,000 years properly, and he decided to leave. But before he could go, the brown-haired student approached him and realized that he didn't look well, so he wondered what the reason was. Daria looked at him and asked if he was talking to him. The other students clarified who else he was talking to, as he is an idiot who chose both magic and swordsmanship. The brown-haired man went near him as he heard that he had gone to the forest, but it seems like he ran away in the end. Daria is a bit annoyed, wondering who they are, and suddenly, memories start flooding his head. He grabbed his head as these are the memories, and realized that it is because of this guy that Daria got seriously injured. Since Daria admired the magic sword saint, these students made fun of him for it. But trying to get back at them, Daria got seriously injured, so he didn't want to let it slide. He glared at them as he finally remembered everything that annoyed the bully. While approaching the bully, the protagonist remembers that he is Daria Westgarden, a second-year student in the magic department. He started exuding magical energy and clarified that he would become the magic sword saint in this era. The other two students lunged toward him, wanting to make him laugh, thinking he was a pathetic weakling. The protagonist decided to fight back and clarified that he would go easy on him, but not to the point of death. He summoned his aura blade, wanting them not to scream pitifully, and he quickly struck them. The bully is in complete shock as his two comrades were thrown far away. The protagonist uttered that they kicked and punched Daria, so that he might have felt much more pain than this. The bully gets worried on seeing this, wondering what is going on. While the protagonist lunges toward him, he wanted him to watch closely, as that is the swordsmanship of the half-one that he mocked, and he strikes him. The bully tried to block his strike, but soon his weapon was knocked away. The protagonist quickly stared at him and attacked him, throwing him far away. The bully was slammed to the wall, which inflicted severe injuries on him, and he started trembling on seeing Daria. Daria clarified that he is lucky because he is kind and ordinary. Otherwise, his life would have ended there. The bully was scared as he saw Daria pointing his sword at him, and he covered his face out of fear. Daria looked at him, sighing as he decided to let him off with this much, and he decided to leave, so he bid him goodbye. The bully is stunned to see this, wondering if he is fine with this, as this was his chance to get revenge for everything. The protagonist rubbed his head as he told him that he didn't understand anything, because if he continued any further, Daria would be sad, as that was the kind of person he was. The bully is completely speechless, wondering what is wrong with him. While on his way, Buryo already knew that this body belonged to Daria, and his family name is also Westgarden, a descendant of the same bloodline as his own. Abruptly, the bell appeared in the sky and began ringing, capturing the protagonist's attention. Shortly after, a professor came out and announced that the lunch break was over, so he wanted everyone to move to the classroom for the next lesson. The protagonist is stunned to hear about the lesson and realizes that being a student is tough. Abruptly, the teacher pointed at Daria, and the protagonist affirmed, telling him that's him. The teacher rushed toward him, telling him he should go to the magic training ground quickly and practice his magic. The teacher set his glasses down on Daria and reminded him that he is already a dropout as it is. After the teacher left, Daria realized that he had many enemies, but he had thought about magic after 1,000 years had passed. He is wondering how far technology has advanced, and he wants the new era to prove it to him. After a while at Burrito Academy's magic training ground, a student tries hard to demonstrate a lightning ball, and it finally strikes the dummy. The other students were astounded to see that his magic had hit the target and found him a fantastic magician. Meanwhile, Daria saw this from far and felt disgusted, wondering what that was, and couldn't believe they had this level of magic standard. He remembers that even kids from 1,000 years ago were better than this. He kept pondering how magic could regress this much over thousands of years. Momentarily, the teacher approached him, accosted Daria, and reminded him that he doesn't have such a privileged position that allows him to observe from there. He settled his glasses, telling Daria that he was not blaming him because he couldn't even use beginner magic properly. He grabbed his mustache, started twisting it, and was sure that even if Daria wanted to join the class, he couldn't do it. Daria accosted his teacher and asked how good he is at magic. The professor explained that he can use all intermediate magic along with multiple advanced spells. Since magic has 4 categories, including beginner, intermediate, advanced, and special. Daria remembers that in the past, he was able to use everything up to the advanced level, and was finally a full-fledged magician. He realized that even magicians had grown weaker, and the teacher was startled, wondering what he meant by this. Daria confidently accosted his teacher and clarified that they should have a magic duel. He wanted to experience his teacher's amazing magic up close. The professor thought he was cheeky. Then he grabbed his glasses, wiped them, and didn't think he was so foolish that he couldn't even understand the difference in their abilities. He wore his glasses back, agreed with his request, because that is a part of education as well. The teacher approached Daria, wanting to make him aware that there was no comparison between Daria and him. Shortly, they were at the arena surrounded by all the students who were amazed because a dropout like Daria dared to challenge the teacher to a magic duel. The students wonder if Daria is going to do it because the teacher can use advanced magic. After a while, the professor asked him if he was ready, and the protagonist affirmed. Therefore, the teacher decided to show him advanced magic, which students don't usually get to see. He smiled wickedly, telling Daria not to worry, as he would adjust the power, and then he used his advanced magic to fire a flash bullet. Several bullets were slowly approaching the protagonist, but he got rid of them with a single gesture of his hand. The teacher is dumbfounded after seeing Daria's magic, which even broke his glasses. Daria inquired if that was all and clarified it was a special occasion, so he wanted to show his teacher a special grade magic trick as well. He started demonstrating his magic with the hope that his teacher would realize that between them, there was no competition, and he created a powerful magic circle. He demonstrated a special magic that left the professor speechless, as it was impossible for such a dropout student to perform such a feat. Daria then used special grade magic Azure cut down on his professor, but he didn't intend to harm his teacher, so it went away from his side. The teacher is so scared that he is out of his mind, and Daria inquired what the matter was. He wonders if his teacher thinks special grade magic would hit him, and he clarified that he wouldn't do something like that in a mere magic duel. However, he warned the teacher that if he continued to look down on him, he might accidentally hit him next time. This sent chills down the teacher's spine, but he soon calmed himself down and remarked that he recognized Daria Westgarden's abilities. He admitted that the magic Daria used surpasses him, and that is a fact that he can't deny. This creates chaos among all the students, as they cannot believe what they heard, that Daria magic surpassed their teacher, which is incredibly powerful. The protagonist is delighted after hearing this because, from this moment on, there will be fewer people mocking him. While he is lost in his thoughts, his teacher has a question to ask and inquires about how he gained such power. Daria is left speechless after facing this question, and he starts sweating as he thinks about it, unsure of how to explain. He knew he couldn't tell them that the magic sword saint from those years ago was inside him, but he knew they wouldn't believe that. The protagonist rubs his head and explains that he grasped the knack of magic. The teacher didn't believe his lie, as that alone shouldn't be enough to make Daria stronger than him, which scared Daria. The teacher clarified that whether it is skills or magic power, he is vastly different from his previous self. Daria started laughing after hearing this, telling his teacher that it was true because the magical skills and knowledge were inherited from his past life. The amount of magic power depends on the soul, not the body, of the wizard. Daria is certain that if he weren't a different person, he couldn't change dramatically in just one day. All this makes him wonder if he should tell his teacher everything. Before he could tell the truth, he heard some noise, so he looked back and saw a monster appearing at the academy. The teacher is surprised to see that, wondering what that is, as he has never seen such a monster before. Daria is shocked to hear that the teacher has never seen it before. When this monster inhabits this area, he raised his hand, uttered whatever the case may be, he would get rid of them, and he struck one of them with his thunderbolt. He remarked that the monster was just a small insect, and the monster started attacking him. Daria quickly got rid of their strike with his fire and couldn't believe those monsters thought such an attack would harm him. He was surprised to see all the students rushing away since the monster had appeared. He can't figure out why everyone is in a great panic when, as a magician, they should be able to trounce a beast like this. He is amazed to see his teacher willing to fight beside him, and his teacher clarified that as a mentor, he can't run away. Daria realized it was an era where the overall ability of the magicians had declined. The teacher raised his cane to use his skill Flash Rain, and the flashes started falling on the monster, but many of them were unharmed. The protagonist is concerned because in this era, a monster of this level is a sufficient threat to humanity. Abruptly, he heard a voice from far, so he looked to the side where another student named Saris was using a fire spear. He is pleased to know there is still a student who hasn't escaped, but her power is terrible, as she can't defeat the monster. Daria smiled because with that bravery alone, she could defeat the monster someday. Abruptly, the monster is about to attack Saris, which concerns her. Daria quickly rushes toward her to take her away and clarifies that she can become stronger from this moment onward. Saris started blushing upon seeing Darian, and the protagonist told her to burn this into her memory. Even Fire Spear depends on how she trains. He summoned Fire Spear and said to her that it can become the most potent magic if used properly. As several monsters appeared before them, Daria asked her if she was ready for a serious strike. While Saris is in awe, Daria tells her that the sorcerer's sword saint is entirely different. He launched the fire spear toward those monsters that cause explosions and burned several of those beasts. The protagonist told her that it is entirely different from the magic of this era. Saris is thoroughly impressed by his magic, as that is amazing. Momentarily, the remaining monsters charge toward Daria, and he is amazed to see that those monsters have closed the distance. He rambled that no matter how skilled the magician is, there is a brief moment of vulnerability when they cast a spell. Therefore, the protagonist told Saris that the correct approach when fighting a magician is to close in. But that is only if the opponent is an ordinary magician. As soon as the beast gets close to Daria, he kills it with his aura blade and clarifies that he is at the pinnacle of both since he can use magic and swordsmanship. However, he is unfortunate to tell her that, for her, close combat is the specialty of swordsmanship. Then he used a special move, Air Dance King Storm, to fly in the air and severed the beast into several pieces. After descending, Daria is sure this will wipe out all the monsters in the vacancy. The teacher was so surprised that he took out the new pair of glasses, and Saris was amazed on seeing this. Daria is glad because even in this body, it was an easy win for him. After some time at Burrito Academy Library, the protagonist felt excruciating pain as his entire body hurt after the fight. While resting, he looked around and saw all the students staring at him. Daria felt nothing immediately after the fight, but the pain came over time, so it seems impossible to move as before without training this body. He sits straight as he is planning to create a training regimen after finishing these books. After the monster attack, the academy took the situation seriously and decided to suspend all classes for a while. Daria closed the book as he had time and then started investigating after his death. As he expected, all the history books state that he defeated the demon king Jurenhel. According to history, the magic sword saint, exchanging his life, managed to defeat the demon king Jurenhel. The demons, after losing their king, were driven to the ends of the continent, and the magic sword saint who saved humanity has been told as a legend for 1,000 years. However, the protagonist discovered that the demon that killed Burrito and Jurenhal never appeared in history. He can't find any evidence of attacking humans, so he wondered where it had disappeared to. He worriedly rubbed his head as he didn't understand anything. Abruptly, Daria heard some noise, so he looked around and saw Saris practicing her magic. He approached her, inquired if she was practicing, and Saris was startled to see him. She affirmed, telling him that the magic training ground is off limits until the monsters are cleared out, so she is training there. She quickly bowed before Daria to express her gratitude to him and thanked him for saving her earlier. Since Daria left before the teacher asked him how, he suddenly became skilled in swordsmanship, which is why she couldn't thank him. The protagonist agreed, as she was right, and remembered how he had run away because he couldn't answer his teacher. Saris was surprised to see Daria fight and remarked that he had gotten strong. She started training again because she also wanted to be strong enough to defeat a monster. She looked at him, smiled awkwardly as her magic vanished after a while, and clarified that she seemed to be a dropout no matter how hard she tried. Daria wondered if she was disappointed in her inability to grow as she wanted. He is sure there might be a reason why she can't even master beginner magic, and he supposes she might have been born with an unusually small amount of magic power. Therefore, he told her to show him her hand, and she reached out to show him her hand, but wondered what the reason was. Daria quickly placed his hand on her hand, which made her blush, and he started examining her magic power. He is startled as he senses a strangely tremendous amount of mana in her body and wonders what that magical power is. Abruptly, he opened his eyes as Saris took away her hand and asked what the matter was. Daria is dumbfounded because it's so much, even if not as much as he has, and it's rare to see this level even in his past life. He explained that it's not that she has too little magic power, but she has too much to control. The protagonist asked her for her name, and Saris was a bit startled as he didn't even remember her. Daria soon remembered that her name was Saris, and he told her that she could use special grade magic. Saris is shocked to hear that she could use special grade magic and is certain there is no way she can do that. She sadly told him that she doesn't have any talent, so the teachers and classmates often tell her the same thing. Daria clarified that it is because the people around her are too weak to notice her strength, and she wanted her not to worry about it. Saris doesn't believe that, as that is impossible, because she is just a failure who can't even use beginner-level magic properly. Daria accosted her and asked if she wanted to become strong or if she was content staying weak. He seriously asked her which one it is, and after giving it some thought, Saris made a firm resolution so clear that she wants to become strong. Daria is glad to hear that and uttered that it is the spirit of a mage. He is sure that she might not realize it, but she possesses immense magical power, and Saris asked if that is the case. Daria explained the reason for being unable to activate the beginner-level magic properly because she poured far more magical power into it than necessary, like an idiot. Saris started crying as he pointed out her mistake and started wiping her tears. Daria explained that even controlling the amount of magic she uses requires skills, so it's impossible for her to use beginner spells correctly for now. However, there is a type of spell that she can cast without worrying about the amount of magic she uses. Daria explained that it is a special grade of magic. Saris stopped him because the special grade magic is something she heard even the headmaster of this academy can barely manage to use. Daria told her that made her equal to the headmaster, but Saris refused, as there was no way, and it was too much. The protagonist reminded him that he could also use special grade magic, so it wasn't rare. He explained that special grade magic requires a massive amount of magical power, but for someone like Saris, it wouldn't be an issue. Saris felt a bit confused because the conversation was moving too fast for her to keep up. Daria wanted to get started quickly and explained that he would teach her one special grade spell immediately. Since there is no need for some grand preparation, the protagonist told her it's the same as casting a beginner spell. Saris is a bit confused as she somehow got swept up into this and ended up learning a special grade spell, but she knew there was no way it was the same as casting a beginner spell. She imagined an immense flare-up and is sure it's not the same, because special grade magic looks like this. After moving away, Daria told her that the spell she would cast at that moment was the special grade spell Prominence Gate. He elucidated that it is a fire-based spell that is relatively easy to handle and is similar to something like Fire Spear. After finding a suitable spot, he stopped there, and Saris was speechless, as there was no way it was that simple. She became gloomy, wondering if she could truly use a special grade spell, and thought she couldn't do it. However, she raised her spirits as she wanted to stop thinking negatively and become stronger. As soon as she lifted her hand, Daria realized that she was ready for the attack. Saris is concerned because if she manages to cast a special grade spell, it might cause damage to everything around her. Daria clarified that it is usually right, but that is why he wanted her to aim at him this time. He told her not to worry about anything that might happen afterward. Saris understood that, and Daria was amazed to see that she was no longer shaken. Saris started casting the spell, telling him that if she got any more surprised, then she might pass out. She remembers that Daria is the one who defeated all those monsters on his own. Hence, she agreed to believe in him. As soon as she started casting the spell, a vast, massive circle appeared beneath her. She finally managed to create a gigantic gate behind her. She stared at Daria as she was prepared to attack him, and as soon as she pointed at him, the prominent gate opened, and massive fire went toward him. As she looked back, she was delighted to see that Daria had helped her succeed. Daria praised her for doing a great job, and with the flicker of his hand, using Tendal elimination, he managed to extinguish the fire. He covered the entire fireball with the barrier, and Saris was astounded on seeing this. After moving the fireball far away, Daria approached her and asked Saris if she was glad to believe him, as she successfully used a special grade spell. Furthermore, it doesn't cause any harm to anyone around them. Saris stared at him as she wanted to know about Daria's true identity. Daria clarified that who he is doesn't matter, but what is essential is that she succeeded in casting a special grade spell, so he wanted her to be proud of herself. Saris understood that she had started blushing and was in awe as she did so. She looked at her hands as she managed to cast a special grade spell, even though she couldn't handle beginner magic, even though she was a failure. Daria realized that Saris turned out to have more potential than expected. Since the overall level of mages is declining, he realized they need properly trained ones. The protagonist accosted Saris and asked if she wanted to become his disciple. Saris is surprised to hear that he wanted to make her his own disciple. Daria affirmed, telling her that out of everyone he has seen in this academy, the most talented one is Saris. He told her that she can refuse the offer if she doesn't want to be his disciple, but if she chooses to be his disciple, then he will train her to become one of the greatest mages in the world. Therefore, he asked her what she wanted to do. Saris happily told him that her decision was evident, as she tried to be his disciple. Since, in one day, Daria had completely transformed her, she had no reason to refuse, and she requested him to take care of her. After some time, they were in the forest, and Daria accosted his disciple, asking why they were there, out of all places. Saris is mortified, but she explained that her practical magic grades were so bad that she was given an extra assignment. Daria wondered what extra assignment she had, and Saris explained that she needed to make it to the altar deep within this forest. Then she has to channel his magic into the device there, as that is the task. Saris asked him if he didn't get the same assignment and is sure that he hasn't completed it yet. The protagonist is annoyed after recalling that Saris uttered that she is commanded to finish it as soon as possible. However, with the recent monster attacks, she was too scared to come alone. The protagonist told her that day classes were all cancelled, and she could have just waited for him. Saris is startled to hear that after Daria mentioned it, and worriedly clarified that she rushed because she thought she had to. The protagonist is a bit worried as he realizes his disciple is somewhat lacking in intelligence. He told her that whatever the case is with him, there she is safe. However, sending students who can't even use beginner magic to this place is a bit dangerous, as they can't tell if monsters will attack them and lose their lives. Saris continued to progress and told him that everything had been fine so far, as they were near the academy and within the kingdom's borders. She wiped her sweat, telling him that most of the monsters are weak and don't attack humans. The protagonist stared at her, wondering what was going on because monsters attacking humans is the norm, so the monsters that don't attack humans should be extremely rare. Abruptly, she remembered there was a dangerous giant lizard monster near the hill close to the academy, so it's best to stay away. The protagonist is shocked because the giant lizard was a weakling at his time and can't believe it is considered dangerous. Daria remembered that land used to have much stronger monsters roaming around. Saris clarified that if a powerful monster exists there, then that might have been over 1,000 years ago. She explained that thanks to the legendary magic swordsman who defeated the Demon King, the demons retreated from the kingdom. The monster, which had grown stronger from their magic, began to weaken rapidly. That protagonist understood, as it started making sense. With the demons gone, the monster grew weaker, battles against demons and monsters decreased, and human combat skills deteriorated, which all checked out. However, Daria has never seen a monster whom he fought recently in the past. Since he had never seen it before, the protagonist wondered if it was not native to this area. But whatever the case may be, that monster was just a weakling. While he was pondering, he heard some noise, so he looked ahead and saw a few monsters approaching. So he pointed at them and asked Saris if she thinks those are harmless as well. Saris is about to cry, but her face turned pale as the monster roared and charged at them, and she clarified that she didn't think that. The protagonist quickly struck the monster, created his mana blade, and killed them all. Daria realized that monsters attacking humans are starting to appear everywhere. Saris disagrees because that can't be the case, because in the current academy, hardly anyone has actual combat experience against dangerous monsters. She is concerned because, at this rate, they will eventually start facing casualties. Daria considered it a good thing that he decided to take a disciple, which startled Saris. He explained that thanks to her, at least one more mage with combat experience will exist. Saris started trembling after hearing this and asked if he meant she had to fight them. Daria grabbed the paper from her hand and clarified that a slightly aggressive opponent is perfect for a disciple training. Then he pushed Saris forward, the monster, and wanted her to take them all down. The monsters charge towards Saris, which scares her, so she doesn't know how to handle them. Daria told her to calm down first, because if she used her true power, monsters like these would be easily crushed. After hearing that, Saris agreed with what he said, and she enthusiastically glared toward the monster. She summoned her fire to strike them and was confident she would be fine, as she had done that before. Saris successfully activated the Prominence Gate, and the fire came out of it, which burned all the monsters before her into ashes. Saris is delighted to see that she finally did it and defeated a monster for the first time. Daria praised her for doing well and is glad to choose an outstanding disciple as he expected. He explained that after she gains real combat experience, she will improve her control over magic. Furthermore, she will learn to manage her power and use spells other than advanced magic, as that is her first goal. While he is conversing, 3 more monsters charge at him, but he doesn't dodge them, and Saris gets worried after seeing that, so warned him. The protagonist quickly dodged the attack, then punched the beast on its face and started beating all the remaining beasts. Abruptly, one of the monsters tried to attack him again, but Daria kicked it, which slammed it firmly into the tree. Daria clarified that he liked her as a mage and wanted her to learn how to handle something like this as well. Saris sighed worriedly as he didn't even use magic and wanted him not to ask for the impossible. Daria clarified that even mages can benefit from fighting barehanded, and it comes in handy in emergencies. Saris agreed that might be true, and the protagonist told her to keep moving, as they needed to complete their task. Saris is prepared for this, but her master is completely beyond the norm. While the protagonist moved ahead, he clarified that he would leave killing the monster to her. Saris gets worried after this and wants him to wait for a minute, but Daria assures her to put out any fires before they spread, and shortly there was an explosion. After a while, they finally arrived at the stone altar, and he looked at Saris, who was out of breath and sweating. He worriedly asked her what was wrong with her, and Saris clarified that she was exhausted. Saris remembered all the fights on her way and realized that just getting there had pushed her to her limits, as she had already used advanced magic 5 times. The protagonist can't believe that she is tired after just 5 spells. Saris' face turned pale, and she became gloomy because trying to reason with him was a mistake on her part. However, she is glad to see that they managed to reach the stone altar somehow. She rushed toward the altar because after she channels her magic into the device, the assignment will be complete. However, the protagonist is startled as he senses something, so he tells her to stop, and Saris is startled as well. Suddenly, a shadow reaches toward them, and a monster jumps above Daria toward Saris. The protagonist told her that they have got a big one coming at them. The beast stared at Saris and roared loudly, which pushed Saris back, but Daria protected her. The protagonist realized that even mages from 1,000 years ago would have struggled with this thing. The monster charges toward them, which scares Saris, so Daria knew this was too much for her, so he had to take it down himself. Abruptly, the beast used his magic and started lifting the fragments from the ground, stunning the protagonist. Daria realized that the technique uses a fragment of the ground as a weapon, and is quite a skillful move. While the beast was throwing fragments toward him, Daria started rushing away and instructed Saris to protect herself while he held it off. He looked at Saris, prepared to attack the beast, and was glad to know that she hadn't run away last time either. Saris decides to be honest with him, so she clarified that she is still not confident that her attack will work. Furthermore, her body wouldn't stop trembling as she thought she should probably run. But she didn't want to run because her master was watching her. The beast noticed that she was ready to attack him, so he started throwing the bricks toward her. Daria apologized to the monster because his disciple is giving it her all, so he wanted to get rid of everything in her way. So he rushed in front of the monster and wanted Saris to show her courage and her full force attack on him. Saris affirmed, so she decided to show him her strength, and she opened the prominence gate. A massive flame came out of the prominence gate, which swept away the beast in it. After the fire is extinguished, Saris is glad as she somehow managed to defeat it. The protagonist went to her and remarked that she had done well, so he was sure that no one would dare to call her a failure anymore. Saris smiled awkwardly as she told him that no one from the academy saw her defeat the monster, so she was sure they might think she was lying. Daria is sure that they might say that about the monster, but there is no doubt that Saris' reputation has changed. A bright light began emanating from the altar, which filled the entire space. The protagonist realized that the magic transmission device for the assignment had sent the magic channeled directly to the academy. Since the magic carries faint traces of its owner by sending it to the academy, they can identify who completed the task. However, the real question is something else, and he asked her what she thinks happens when advanced magic strikes the device. Saris worriedly started trembling as she realized that all the magic power from the advanced spells was sent to the academy. The protagonist affirmed that she was correct, but suddenly the altar began to break, and immense energy emerged from it. The protagonist is glad to see that, but Saris starts crying after seeing this, as she is confident she is going to get scolded later. However, soon her energy arrived at the academy, which captured all the students' attention. After a while, the teacher accosted Saris, and Saris worriedly clarified that there was a reason for this. The teacher explained that, regardless of the cause, there is no excuse for destroying a sacred monument. Saris started apologizing to her teacher, and the protagonist started laughing after seeing her so concerned. The teacher is worriedly asking Saris what does she thinks the legendary magical sword saint would have said about this if he were alive. Daria hardly manages to stop laughing as he probably wouldn't care at all. The teacher wonders how Daria is sure that the magical sword saint would know that. The teacher decided to acknowledge that Saris had completed the assignment, and the magic scent was unmistakably Eltarl's, which pleased Saris. However, he is confused because, just like Westgard and Saris, he was considered a failure until recently, so he wondered what had happened to the two of them. The protagonist clarified that Saris didn't suddenly change, But her latent talent was just overlooked by everyone but him, and that is the reason. The teacher is astounded on hearing this, so he asks Daria what his true identity is. Daria is shocked to hear about that, but he tries to change the subject, remembering that he was assigned the same task as Saris. But since the device is in pieces, he cannot channel any magic into it and asks if there is some exception. The teacher is already aware of his abilities, so he exempted Daria from the assignment, and the protagonist affirm. The teacher is aware that if Daria tried to complete the task, he would probably destroy the monument as well. He looked to the side and was startled to see that both of them had already escaped. He then told Daria that the discussion wasn't over. While the protagonist wanted to go check out the public reactions, Saris looked at her teacher's furious reaction and asked if that was all right. While on their way, they heard some students gossiping that Daria is the age when the monsters attacking the academy were defeated. They also recognized that the girl with him apparently has an incredible amount of magic power. Saris blushed after hearing this, but she felt something piercing her heart when the other girl said it was she who had burned the monument. After a while, the protagonist is glad because the positive rumors are spreading, but Saris feels a bit awkward about it. Daria asked if she felt uncomfortable, and he was startled to hear some noise as he looked at the side where several students were gathered, so he wondered what was going on. After a while, the white-haired student approached the protagonist and asked if he was Daria. The protagonist affirmed that he is Daria, and he asked who he is. Saris whispered in his ear, telling him that the person is a famous genius swordsman. Daria is surprised to hear that he is a genius swordsman, and Saris keeps trying to recall his name correctly. The student clarified that he is in his third year in the swordsmanship department, Flem Riker. Flem found himself in a rather complicated situation, so he asked Daria if it was possible. Then, he would like to spar with him, as he was the mage who had saved the academy, and he had reached out to him. The protagonist is surprised, as he had wanted to spar with him out of the blue and asks for the reason. Flem clarified that the Supreme Swordsmanship Council is concerned about the monster attack incident. They don't like the fact that the person who saved the academy was a magician. Therefore, they ordered him to spar with that person and demonstrate that he is more capable of proving it to everyone around him. He found it embarrassing, but he clarified that they are only concerned with protecting their authority. Daria thought for a whole, then apologized and asked what the Supreme Swordsmanship Council is. Saris is shocked to hear that, telling him that she has been thinking this for a while, but he has been forgetting too much lately. The protagonist is mortified upon hearing this, and Saris whispers so that he understands that the Supreme Swordsmanship Council and the Central Magic Institute are the two main institutions of this country. The swordsmanship organization that governs all swordsmen in the nation is the Supreme Swordsmanship Council. Meanwhile, the organization that oversees magicians is the Central Magic Institute. Both institutions hold significant power, and the two institutions have been at odds for a long time. The protagonist wondered why they were at odds, and Saris explained that they had been fighting over which was superior, magic or swordsmanship. Daria found it ridiculous as it would depend on the situation. Saris thinks that as well, but because of those conflicts, it's a fact that magicians and swordsmen don't get along well. The protagonist finally understood who they were, and Flem inquired if he would spar with them. He clarified that he would appreciate it if he could accept and wanted him to do him a favor. The protagonist agreed to spar with him, as it's a good opportunity to gauge the current level of swordsmanship. However, he knew that they conflicted with modern magicians, but he didn't have high expectations. Daria remembered that Flem is called a genius swordsman and asked if that is true. Flem clarified that it is not impressive, but he happens to like swords a little more than most, and he exudes his aura. Saris explained that Senior Flem is known as the strongest swordsman in the academy, so she requested Daria to be careful. The protagonist looked at her and happily told her not to worry, as her master isn't just at the top of the academy, but he is the one who stands at the pinnacle of the world. Later, at Burrito Academy Arena, Daria is amazed to look around, as he hadn't known there was a place like this inside the academy. Then he looked to the side and saw Saris cheering and waving at him. However, she is pushed back by all the fans of Flem, who wish him good luck and want him to look this way, so Daria feels strange seeing that. Flem picked up a wooden sword, telling Daria he would use this sword and wanted him to feel free to use magic as he liked. Daria is startled to hear about the magic. Then he grabs the wooden sword and clarifies that he has no intention of using magic, which shocks Flem. He wanted to stick to swordsmanship, otherwise it wouldn't be fair. Flem is worried as he heard that Daria is a magician. The protagonist clarified that he used magic, but that doesn't make him a magician. Flem furiously stared at him and explained that he understood. Then he left for the arena. The protagonist noticed that he was angry but wanted to know the reason. He abruptly recalled that in modern times it's common to choose either magic or swordsmanship. So he supposed Flem might think that someone who decided magic might have picked up a sword for fun. However, he recalled that he had used swordsmanship techniques to defeat the monster, and supposed the information hadn't gotten across properly. Still, he decided to apologize for the misunderstanding as he didn't mean to insult him. But he takes pride in his swordsmanship, so he exudes his aura. He lifted his sword and was sure that if they crossed swords, then Flem would understand it quickly. Flem glared at him and uttered that if he was saying that, then he should show him the swordsmanship of someone who uses magic. He told Daria that they would start on the count of 3, and Daria understood. Flem began the countdown that thrilled everyone gathered at the stadium. On the count of 3, Flem charges toward Daria and strikes, but he is shocked as his opponent blocks it. He kept trying to attack, but all of Flem's attacks were being stopped easily, so he decided to show him his best strike and wanted to see what would happen next. This attack dispersed dust around the protagonist, and as the dust disappeared, Flem is shocked to see Daria unscathed. Flem's jaw dropped with shock as it is impossible to have such a high level of skill, and Daria is also able to use magic. He again rushed toward Daria to deal a substantial strike and wondered if he was like the legendary magic sword saint. Flem is unable to land any strong attack at him, but he is surprised to hear Daria saying that it is not bad. Shortly, Daria's sword broke down, and he clarified that it had been a while since he had such a satisfying fight. Then he threw his sword down and clarified from that moment onward, he wouldn't hold back anymore. The protagonist created a small magic circle that helped him pick up another sword. He grabbed the sword and was eager to continue the fight, which confused Flem. Daria started exuding his aura and wanted to make this sparring fun. He rushed toward Flem, who swiftly appeared before him and was about to strike him. However, Flem's timely response helped him dodge the strike, and he rushed back. However, Daria again tried to attack him, which concerned him. The protagonist told him it was too bad, as it was the opposite. Then again, Daria wanted to attack him, but Flem dodged it again. He remembered that Flem is a swordsmanship genius, so he quickly struck him again. Flem blocked his attack, and he was amazed because, even though he was not holding back, his opponent showed no sign of tiring yet. He recalls that even 1,000 years ago, he was referred to as a genius. Abruptly, he rushed at the back of Daria and tried to attack him sneakily. But Daria quickly blocked his attack, which left everyone in awe, as he is impressive. The protagonist looked at his sword, which was starting to break, and realized that it was too fragile. Flem remarked that his attacks are too strong because this sword has never even had a crack before. He is a bit mortified, as he owes Daria an apology because his swordsmanship is genuine, so he apologizes for doubting him. Daria uttered that Flem is a very principled person, so he doesn't dislike that, and Flem thanked him for the compliment. Daria clarified that since they have fought seriously, he can call him by his first name, and he doesn't need to be formal. Furthermore, he is his junior, so he doesn't need to be formal with him, and Flem looked at his aura and remarked that he is an assertive junior. Flem affirmed as he finally understood it, and he wanted to finish this before the sword breaks. The protagonist is glad to hear that because that is precisely what he wants. Flem pointed his sword toward him as he tried to challenge him with all his heart and soul. So, he unleashed his strike at him, using his skill, Unyielding Flash. After covering a certain distance, Flem's slash diverges into several slashes. Daria clarified that it is beyond a student's level, but if he can't read this much, then he can't call himself a sword saint. He kept dodging all those slashes as he approached Flem, and finally, after getting near him, he put his sword to his neck. Flem dropped his sword, telling him that he felt like he was fighting a sword saint, and started laughing. After a while, Saris rushed toward the protagonist, telling him that he did great, and Daria thanked her for the support. He is startled as he hears Flem fans shouting that even if he lost, he is still the best, the coolest, and so dignified, and Daria is annoyed upon seeing this. After the students left, Flem reached out, as that was a great spar, and thanked Daria. Daria shook hands with him and remarked that the pleasure was his. However, he wonders if that is okay, as he thinks the Swordsmanship Council ordered Flem to defeat him. Flem agreed because the Supreme Swordsmanship Council would be angry if they found out he had lost to someone who used magic with a sword. Furthermore, he might get expelled from the Swordsmanship Council. Daria is infuriated as they created factions between magic and swordsmanship, which is a foolish story. He thought everything would be resolved if there were a faction that accepted both magic and swordsmanship. Saris can't understand him, wondering what he is talking about. Daria excitedly told her that he was going to create it, and Saris felt dizzy after hearing that. Flem asked what he was going to develop, and the protagonist clarified that he was going to create a faction, which shocked him. Daria uttered that it doesn't matter if they are a magician or a swordsman, but he will certainly make a new faction. The following day, Daria was in his bed when the bright sunshine in his eyes woke him up. He went into the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and couldn't believe he was still in his original body that day. Since it has been several days since he took over Daria's body, and there is no sign of Daria's soul coming back, another day in his life commenced like that. After a while, he is eating breakfast on the bench, and he remembers that since he woke up after 1,000 years, there has been a great deal of activity. He already felt annoyed after trying to find his room, as it was a hassle. However, from today, the classes are going to resume, and students are very busy. According to Saris, since he took over Daria's body, the monster has been mutating and becoming more aggressive. The protagonist wanted to find the cause quickly and devise a plan to fight those vicious monsters. He needs to untie the magicians and swordsmen of this era and rebuild everything from the ground up to face those monsters. While he was going to his class, he saw everyone staring at him, staringly and gossiping about him. However, Daria is aware of a current conflict between magic and swordsmanship, which is also the reason he decided to create a new faction. But things are taking a strange turn. He heard students worriedly gossiping that if they're not into him, they will be targeted by the Central Magic Academy. Another student found him scary as they heard Daria storm into the swordsmanship department and even pull the beard of a teacher, making them cry. Daria gets worried after hearing this and wonders if he messed up his approach. After he arrived at the class, Saris waved at him and wished him good morning. She told him this seat is free, and Daria wished her good morning as well. However, he is pissed to see students gossiping even in the classroom. The students thought it was heretic as Daria thought there would be a faction without the conflict between magician and swordsmanship, as it's impossible. After a while, Daria couldn't take it anymore, so he stood furiously, slammed the desk, and cursed it. Then he pointed toward the students gossiping in the back and said they were being too noisy. After quieting them, he furiously sits on the bench and is a bit annoyed. But Saris told him that not everyone is a bad person. She remembered that Daria placed the banner regarding the new faction creation and remarked that his methods are pretty noticeable, but the protagonist wanted to put it aside. Soon, the teacher arrived in the class, and they were all glad to be gathered there. He clarified that, starting that day, they would resume the classes that had been interrupted. The teacher explained that it took a few days for the chaos from the monster attacks to settle, but he wanted to work together to catch up on the lost time. He started casting a spell and clarified that the day's lesson is about the impact of the two major organizations. The Central Magic Academy and the Supreme Swordsmanship Council deeply affect their status in society. Daria is annoyed, wondering why the teacher chose this topic out of all the others. The teacher wanted to review it first as a magician. They are only affiliated with the Central Magic Academy. The affiliated magicians are recognized for their talent and skills and receive generous treatment from the country in all aspects, which is why they are highly respected. The protagonist is worried because, in this era, magicians and swordsmen are considered to have high status, which is why everyone is scared of the backlash from their affiliated organization. However, Daria is still unwilling to give up on creating a new faction, and he again displayed the banner to welcome magicians and swordsmen in establishing a new faction without conflict. He worriedly looked at Saris and asked if it was okay for her to help him because the Central Magic Academy would target them. Saris is fine with the backlash because if she hadn't received advice from Daria, she might have been expelled as a failure. The protagonist thinks about it, but Daris confidently told him that she will follow the master she believes in, no matter where it leads. Daria's eyes welled up after hearing that, but Saris looked back as she was more worried about Flem being there with them. Saris is concerned as she saw Flem asking a student if he wanted to have a chat and reminded him that if Flem shows up at such a suspicious gathering, his status as a top student will be at risk. The protagonist told her that her true feelings are showing. Flem thanked her for worrying about him, but he was okay with it, as he was not a fan of being tied down by authority either, so he was in the same position as Daria. Flem can't avoid the punishment for not living up to the Swordsmanship Council's expectations, so he also wants to act freely now. However, Daria is concerned because with just the three of them, they can't do much. Abruptly, he got an idea, so he wanted to convince Flem's fan to join them. Saris clarified that it is not a good idea because if they act rebelliously against the two major organizations, some people's lives could change drastically. Therefore, she suggested to the protagonists that they need to be careful with recruitment, and the protagonist understood. Abruptly, some people came there and asked if they were Westgarden and his group. Daria happily looked at them and asked if they were students who wanted to join. However, he is startled to see the staff there, and the professor told him that his actions have been deemed harmful to the academy, so the headmaster has called for him. They grabbed them as they wanted to escort him immediately. Saris worriedly reached out to Daria as she was being dragged away, and the protagonist told her to calm down. While capturing Flem, the teacher worriedly asked why he was involved in this. The protagonist sighed, as it was a good opportunity, and he wanted to meet the face of the academy's top leader. After some time, they were all standing before the headmaster along with the teachers. The headmaster clarified that his name is Rudolfin Garfwelm and that he is the headmaster of this belied academy, and thanked them for coming all the way there. The protagonist looked at his headmaster's hand and realized that he was a magician. He inquired if the headmaster is dissatisfied with his actions. The teacher gets infuriated and wants Daria to stop having a disrespectful attitude. Rudolfin stopped the teacher and agreed that it was true that magic and swordsmanship were currently in conflict, but he wanted Daria to take a closer look. He gave an example that the teachers of both magic and swordsmanship there do not fraternize but maintain a delicate balance and have achieved the peace of this moment. However, he is concerned that Daria activities might destroy that peace in this academy, and he supposes it might even destroy it in the world, so he is a dangerous element. The protagonist smirked after hearing that, as it was absurd because magic and swordsmanship were means by which humanity fought and protected itself. Daria clarified that the important thing is to replace those simple means with authority and be bound by them, which is entirely meaningless. The professors were infuriated on hearing this and remarked that he was rude, but the headmaster didn't say much. Abruptly, a student rushed into the office, wanting to say something. The professor was surprised to see a first-year student barging in like that and inquired about the meaning of entering without permission. The student clarified that giant monsters were attacking the classmate who was in the swamp outside the academy. Everyone is concerned after hearing that, and the student worriedly clarified that he somehow managed to escape and return there. However, there were still many classmates and teachers running through the swamp, so he requested that the teachers help them. While Daria was going out to help the teacher, he annoyingly asked him where he was going, as they still needed to talk. The protagonist looked back, annoyed, as the teacher asked where he was going, which was evident because he was going to help the first years. Saris is delighted after hearing that, and Flem is also glad, as that is so like him. The teacher wanted to send experienced teachers for the rescue, because someone like Daria would only be a hindrance. Daria already knows the level of this academy, as there is no teacher stronger than him, so he is the one who must go, and it's the most certain. However, the teacher advised him not to get too full of himself, as he should stay there and reflect on his actions first. The protagonist is annoyed to hear this, so he tells the teacher that if authority is more important than students' lives, then he is unqualified to be a teacher, which annoys the teacher. Abruptly, Professor Rima stepped in as he could understand the other teacher's frustration with Daria's attitude, but he wanted to guarantee that Daria was the strongest in this academy. He insisted that Daria is stronger than any of the teachers there. The female teacher worriedly asked the professor what he was saying, as that can't be true. Rudolfin asked Professor Rima if he meant to say that Daria surpasses even him, who is the headmaster. Rima affirmed that that is what he believed, so the headmaster clarified that, in that case, there is only one thing for him to do. All of them were shocked as they saw Headmaster Rudolfin bowing before Daria and requesting that he save the first-year students, as he was counting on him. The teacher is worried to see that, but Rudolfin explained that in the last few days, the monsters have started to gain abnormal power, so they need Daria's power to help them. Daria is confused on hearing this, as he thought the headmaster hated him. Rudolfin clarified that he stated the general opinion as the headmaster, but he never said he hated him. The three of them were pleased to hear that, and Rudolfin is willing to send teachers skilled in combat later, so don't want him to push himself too hard. The protagonist understood what he meant, and then he quickly rushed out along with his comrade. Professor Rima takes a peaceful breath as the matter is resolved. The other professor worriedly accosted the headmaster, and the headmaster uttered that the magic and swordsmanship should finally break down their walls, just like in the age of the magic sword saint. After some time, they finally arrived at the barren place near the pond with dirty water. Flem remembers that the thing that attacked the first-year students was a giant monster. He looked at the massive footprint and realized that they didn't need to search around much. Saris is so exhausted that she didn't even notice a sound appearing from the pond. Daria grabbed his sword, unsheathed it, and was glad that they had found its track. But he didn't want them to let their guard down. Shortly, the monster popped out of the pond and jumped towards Saris to strike, which concerned her. However, Daria stepped in time to kill those monsters, and Flem also helped him kill some of them. The monsters kept swarming out of the lakes to attack them, but Flem easily stopped them with his single hand and subjugated them. Then he lunges toward the beast and kills them while apologizing, as he can't spend too much time there. Saris is amazed to see that, and Daria is expecting this much of the genius swordsman. Flem is mortified on hearing this, so he laughed awkwardly and wanted him to stop saying that, as his sword skills are far inferior to Daria's. While he is conversing, another monster pops out of the lake to sneakily attack, but Flem quickly subdues it and clarifies that he will do everything he needs to save the academy students. Daria worriedly called Saris and remarked that Flem is so cool that he is afraid he might fall for him. However, he knew this wasn't the time to be joking around, as they needed to find the students quickly, and he rushed forward. The protagonist wanted to understand why the first-year students were having a class in such a place. He knew that the monster that appeared earlier was strong as well, and they could handle it because they were seniors. However, he is certain it will be difficult for normal students to defeat. Flem explained that there is something called miracle water in this swamp, which is a rare type of water he can obtain there, so if he uses it to make tools, the quality of weapons improves significantly. Therefore, every year, the first years in a joint class between the magical and swordsmanship departments compete to see which side can collect more miracle water. Flem asked Daria if he didn't do that, but Daria clarified that he might be absent that day. Flem explained that the teacher usually instructs them to search near the swamp entrance, but every year the students get excited and end up going deep into the swamp. The protagonist understood that, but usually that would be fine. This time, they encountered ferocious monsters. While they were progressing, some other monsters rushed down from the cliff to attack, and the protagonist realized that everyone was being chased around this time. Saris is concerned after seeing the entire army of monsters prepared to subjugate them, and she worries that their number is too significant to handle. Flem saw him rushing there, so he remarked that it's reckless to fight now. The protagonist smiled after hearing this, took out his sword, and wanted them to wait a moment. He kept defeating the monster on his way and subjugated a few using magic, which scared the other monsters. Even then, the protagonist continued to attack those monsters, jumped up, and utilized his ice magic on the ground. The monsters' feet were frozen to the ground, which panicked them, and shortly, the ice spikes emerged, subjugating them. While Saris is dumbfounded to see this, Flem sighed as he went against Daria. He didn't feel like he could win. At the same time, Daria continued killing the monsters using both his magic and swordsmanship. Soon, he is relieved as he gets rid of all of them, so he takes a peaceful breath and puts his sword in the sheath. Then he looked back toward his comrade to ask how that is, as they can finally pass through now. On the other side, the giant monster was attacking the students who were asking for help to be saved. The flow of water swamped them, and the giant monster stared at the other students as it was going to strike. While several other students were running away to save their lives, one of them looked back worriedly, wondering what that giant thing was. The girl worriedly called the other and wanted them to look ahead, as there was nowhere left to run. The magician felt chills down her spine as she heard the stomping of the giant monster behind her. All the students started trembling in fear as they faced death in front of their eyes and couldn't see any hope of survival. Shortly, the giant monster got close to the girl, who, with teary eyes, kept requesting it to stop. As soon as the monster raised its weapon, the student worriedly shouted. Momentarily, Daria stepped in, preventing the monster attack and protecting the students. The monster is stunned, and all the other students are shocked as well, wondering who their savior is. Daria accosted the monster and uttered that it was getting too wild. He thought it was fortunate that the students and teachers who remained in the swamp only had minor injuries. The protagonist stared at the monster, smiled cunningly, and wanted to take care of the culprit so that the matter could be closed. The giant monster is fully prepared to strike him, but Daria easily blocks its attack. All the students were in awe and found Daria amazing as he easily deflected the giant's attacks. The student wanted them to see that swordsmen are stronger, but mages are useless in situations like that. The protagonist smirked after hearing this, so he stopped amidst the fight, put his sword back in the sheath, and wanted the student to stop spouting nonsense. He explained that it doesn't matter whether swordsmanship and magic are essential. He quickly blocked the monster attack with his magic barrier and told them that whether they can solve the problem in front of them with what they have or not, that is what matters. All the students are shocked to see that he can use magic. Daria clarified that if each individual is inexperienced, that is the reason why swordsmanship and magic should cooperate. He wanted the students to listen up as he would show them how to fight cooperatively from this moment onward. He wanted the student to learn some skills first before asserting authority. After concluding this, he told Flem that he is counting on him for the next attack. While the monster is trying to break the barrier, it doesn't notice that Flem is near its head, and it is attacked. Flem went down after attacking the monster as he understood his task. The monster is enraged after the abrupt attack, so it swiftly tries to get rid of its opponent, but fails as Flem dodges it. Daria is sure that everyone can see that, even for a genius sworder like Flem, it's difficult to dodge the giant attacks. However, with the help of magic, they can restrict the giant's movements. After the monster movement was restrained, Daria used his secret technique, Infinite Flash, to strike the monster. Daria explained that with the help of the magic, they can create an opening to unleash a powerful technique. The giant monster started bleeding after the fatal attack and fell down. After a while, Saris rushed there to inform her comrades that they had finished treating the injured and everyone had started evacuating from the swamp. The protagonist thanked Saris, and Flem wanted to head back as well. Saris pointed toward the monster, asking Daria if that was the rumored giant monster. Daria thought that as well, but he wondered what the matter was. Saris uttered that seeing its form with clubs in both hands reminded her of a legend about this swamp, about the mist giant that wielded two massive clubs. The protagonist also started pondering about it, so Saris clarified that she was unsure why it was called that, but the mist giant was said to be an untouchable tyrant of the swamp. The protagonist is surprised to hear that, as it seemed like the monster had already gone down easily. However, he didn't notice that the mist giant was raising his massive club and stood again to fight. Flem gets worried as something isn't right, so he wants everyone to be careful. All the students were concerned after seeing that the mist giant is reviving, so they wondered what was happening. The mist giant widely opened its mouth as it started discharging the gas around. Flem covered his mouth, but it doesn't seem to be poisonous and is just a mist. Saris is concerned because she can't see anything around them due to the mist. The protagonist wanted everyone to be alert, as this feeling is strange. Suddenly, the mist giant came out of the mist and charged toward Daria to strike. Daria managed to evade his attack and realized that round 2 is about to begin. Soon, the protagonist blocked the club with his sword, pushed him back, but the monster struck him again. The monster struck him again, which annoyed Daria, as this movement was clearly different from before. He realized that this monster is among the strongest he has encountered in this era. Soon, the monster started absorbing the mist again, its veins began to engorge, and its eyes bulged out. The mist giant started attacking him again, and Daria wondered if it was gaining power by inhaling the mist. Daria is worried because, even if he wanted to stop the mist from generating, there are too many emission points, making it impossible. The monster looked around, then rushed away, so the protagonist told his comrade to be careful because he lost sight of the giant. Saris affirmed that she would be cautious, but she didn't notice the monster had arrived behind her. Daria quickly built a rock to stop the attack, and Flem rushed toward it, as that was their chance. He jumped high and wanted to ask it to refrain from targeting his dear juniors, and he struck at its head. The monster's head started bleeding profusely, and it quickly ran away to protect itself. Flem just worried as the monster hit itself again, and Daria became confident it might be the mist giant Saris talked about. Saris never thought she would encounter a monster from legend. The protagonist stated that it was a monster that had existed long enough to become a legend, and it had suddenly started rampaging recently. Therefore, he asked Saris how the giant was described in that legend. Saris explained that the mist giant was feared as the tyrant of the swamp, and it was believed that powerful mages had ultimately defeated it. The protagonist began to realize that everything the actual giant must have been was different from the legend. He is sure the monster might have barely survived, and until recently, it has been sleeping somewhere in this swamp in a state of suspended animation. He supposes the reason it wakes up is related to the recent sudden increase in ferocious monsters. The protagonist is surprised, as the Mist Giant is a monster that lived in ancient times and has awakened from a long slumber. The protagonist knows someone in a similar situation very well, and that would be none other than the magic sword saint who awakened after 1,000 years. He charges toward the monster because, in simple words, both he and the monster are birds of a feather. He quickly struck it and doesn't know how long he has been alive. But if he is a monster from the past 10, his strength makes sense. He quickly threw the monster down, but the Mist Giant started inhaling the mist again. Daria is annoyed to see it inhaling the Mist Giant and increasing its combat ability. Saris worriedly told him that, along with the mist, the miracle water is gushing out. Daria remembers that the tools made with miracle water have improved performance, as his senior said. However, it doesn't seem to affect human bodies. The Mist Giant might have a special constitution that becomes stronger when it absorbs its components. Daria is annoyed because of his original body. It might be different, but fighting in this body is tough. While the monster is staring at Daria Phlegm, he quickly rushes to strike it and asks the protagonist if he is alright. The protagonist apologized to his senior and requested him to keep the monster busy for a bit. He grabbed his sword, covered it with flames, and went to use his triumph card and summoned the Prominence Advent. The students were startled on seeing that the mist had cleared and wondered what was happening. Saris noticed and summoned the Prominence Gate, but Daria refused, as this is a superior version of that magic. He clarified that among special class magic, this is one that qualified as a secret technique and special class magic, Prominence Advent, which amazed Saris. While Phlegm is fighting with the monster to distract it, and keeps dodging its attack, Daria explained that the Prominence Gate originally borrows fire from being in another dimension, and this time, he has summoned a part of that being. The Mist Giant is startled as it senses the flame, so it looks ahead, and a huge fire hand appears before it. The protagonist explained that the moment this manifested, their victory was assured, so he is counting on it to secure his victory. Abruptly, the huge hand kept reaching toward the monster, and Daria wanted it to incinerate everything. The monster was scared by the intense flames, and shortly after, its hand smashed it to the ground, leaving all the students in awe. Soon, the hand disappeared, and the monster's ashes were left behind. The protagonist takes a peaceful breath because it was a bit dangerous at that time, but he managed to save everyone. He grabbed his neck, feeling sore, so he decided to retrain his body when he got back. Abruptly, he noticed students rushing toward him, excited to ask him something. The student rush takes aback the protagonist, and one of the students remarks that his swordsmanship at that time was fantastic, but another student remarks that his magic was impressive as well. Both of them wanted to learn to fight like that as well, so they insisted on learning it. Daria asked them if they wanted to gain the power to fight monsters. The female student clarified that after what happened that day, she realized that she couldn't defeat the monster with her current abilities. The sorter also explained that he thought he could beat monsters, which was so frustrating, so they requested that he teach them how to become stronger. The protagonist seized the opportunity and told them that if that is the case, then there is a perfect faction for them, and asked if they were interested in joining. A few days later, the female magician is practicing her magic to strike the dummy, and the swordsman is also practicing on the dummy. The protagonist looked at them and was glad to see that they were practicing correctly that day as well. He thanked them for their hard work. All of the students happily looked at him and approached him, telling him that it wasn't the case. One of the students asked Saris if it is true that she can use special class magic. After returning from the swamp, the first-year students who were present at the battle with the Mist Giant decided to join the new faction. At the swamp, Daria told them that the faction he created doesn't allow conflict between magic and swordsmanship, so he wanted them to understand that before deciding, and all of them affirmed. After that, Daria has been teaching these first-year students how to fight for the past few days. However, he found it concerning that the teachers haven't said anything about the faction since then. Even when Daria reported the defeat of the Mist Giant to the principal, the surrounding teachers looked displeased, but the principal seemed quite satisfied, so he supposed he might be allowed. While he was pondering, Phlegm approached him and said that the principal wanted to talk to him about the faction, instructing him to come to the principal's office. The protagonist worriedly grabbed his head as he realized it wasn't allowed at all, and Saris got worried on hearing him, so she asked what the matter was. After a while, they arrived at the principal's office, who apologized for leaving him out there. Rudolphin explained that they have finally finished organizing the teachers' opinions on the Daria faction. The protagonist is surprised to hear about the Daria faction, and Rudolphin clarified that it is the name they have given to the faction he created. The protagonist found it straightforward, but the principal explained it would be inconvenient without a name. Rudolphin wanted to tell him in advance that he is in favor of the Daria faction, but many teachers are negative about challenging the existing norms. That is why the principal wanted him to demonstrate his power to the teachers once again. Saris is shocked to hear that and reminds him that Daria defeated the mist giant in the swamp, so his abilities should already be proven. Rudolphin knew that opinion was valid, but the teachers didn't see it firsthand. The teachers started gossiping that the giant might be just weak, and some thought he might not have defeated them, but just run away. The principal clarified that some of the teachers are making these claims. Flem is annoyed, as that is an insult to Daria and Rudolphin, which he already understands, so he has prepared a strategy to make sure they can never utter such nonsense again. He retrieved a cube and explained that it was a magical medium that could record video. He wanted Daria to capture the content he was about to tell him, and clarified that if he could do that, he would ensure the teachers recognized the Daria faction. So he asked the protagonist if he could accept this, and Daria sighed after hearing this, but in the end, he understood the hidden meaning, so he accepted the principal request. The protagonist inquired what he needed to do and record in this magical device. Rudolphin explained last night that there was a report of monster damage in a town near the academy. He wanted Daria to go there and resolve the situation using only his power. He clarified that it's fine to bring companions, but Daria is allowed to use his power. Rudolphin is sure that with that footage, the teachers will have no choice but to be silent, and he asked Daria if he could do it. The protagonist smiled excitedly as he told the headmaster that there was no problem. He quickly grabbed the magical device and clarified that he has been doing this kind of work for 1,000 years. After a while, Daria went to the designated place along with his comrades. Saris realized the monster damage had begun, and soon they saw a lot of the area damaged by the monster. The protagonist looked at the destroyed building and grew worried, as the devastation was worse than expected. Flem is astounded to think a monster could burn down an entire town. Saris felt fortunate, as it seemed the townspeople managed to evacuate somewhere. She looked around and found it heartbreaking to see a town where people used to live reduced to this state. The protagonist looked at the material that started burning into ashes as he touched it, and he was worried as its flame could scorch such a wide area. He realized their target for subjugation this time might be pretty formidable. Suddenly, a shadow appeared above them, capturing their attention. Daria is shocked to look above because, among the monster species, this one reigns at the absolute pinnacle as it's a dragon. Saris is surprised to learn that a species like a dragon actually existed. The protagonist took out his sword and remembered that even 1,000 years ago, dragons were rare, so it's natural for Saris to be surprised. Daria never thought a creature like a dragon would appear in a human living area, and wondered what was happening to this world. However, he doesn't care about it. For now, he wants to teach a lesson to the monster that laid hands on humans. Abruptly, Griffin came there and beat the dragon and pushed it back. Saris is shocked as a griffin has now appeared, and Flem remembers that he has heard of a monster in this region that has been protecting the local residents for a long time, much like a guardian deity. Flem supposed that creature might be the deity protecting the resident. The protagonist saw the griffin fighting the dragon and found it amazing, as its anger over its precious town being burned was palpable, even from a distance. Griffin injured the dragon with its claws, then rushed away and attacked the dragon with an overwhelming surge of energy. However, the dragon breathed out flame that got rid of the griffin's attack, and it was about to attack it, which scared it. The protagonist saw this, so he knew it was his time to intervene, and he rushed above to protect the griffin by creating a barrier. He excitedly looked at the griffin and asked if it needed assistance, and he informed the dragon that it had harmed humans, so he did not want to show mercy to it. He unleashed a substantial slash toward the dragon that was unavoidable for it and split it in half. He looked back happily toward Griffin, telling it he had defeated its enemy. However, he is surprised to see the flame attacking Griffin, and he wanted it to dodge it, but it was too late, so the flame burned it down. The protagonist is concerned about seeing this and looks on as Griffin falls. Then he worriedly looked back and saw 3 dragons coming toward him furiously. He couldn't believe there were still more comrades who resented it this much. Daria furiously started exuding his aura and wanted to ask those dragons what that griffin did to them. The protagonist is infuriated because he knows that being unable to protect what is precious and losing one's life is a regret that he understands well. However, for the first time in a while, He has remembered something unpleasant. His overwhelming aura makes it difficult for the dragons to approach him. Saris is surprised to see that, as well, she has never seen Daria like this before. All the dragons widely open their mouth to breathe flames at him simultaneously. Flem and Saris are concerned after seeing this, so they call the protagonist out worriedly. However, the protagonist is completely unharmed by the dragon flames, and he asks them if they have had enough. He rushes toward the dragon and clarifies that no matter how strong their species might be in this world, he is the only one they cannot defeat. He attacked one of the dragons at its neck, thus subjugating it. Then, he stared at the remaining two, who widely opened their mouths to breathe fire, and he knew they were the only ones left. The dragons breathe out flames, but Daria has already rushed behind them. He used the special class magic life crash on the dragon, which quickly pushed the dragon down and killed it on the spot. The last dragon rushed toward Daria to sneakily attack him and avenge its comrade. The protagonist had already sensed its presence, so he grabbed his sword and used the ultimate swordsmanship technique, instant life annihilation, which split the dragon in half. As the dragon's body is falling down, Daria puts his sword back into its sheath. Flem realized that Daria's power of anger is almost frightening to him. Saris agreed with him, and she was glad Daria wasn't her enemy, but her master instead. After the protagonist came down, Saris rushed toward him, accosted him, and explained she had perfectly recorded the battle with the dragon species. The protagonist, what does she mean by recording? And he finally remembers that was the objective. Saris felt unfortunate about the Griffin's incident during the fight. The protagonist accosted both of them and clarified that there was a place he wanted to visit before they returned to the academy. He wanted to say goodbye to that Griffin, so he asked his comrade if they would come with him. After a while, they continued searching for the Griffin, as Daria recalled it had fallen in that area. He looked around and saw a trail created by someone dragging that way. Saris also noticed the blood on the branch, so she wondered what it was. Flem supposed it might be the trail of the dying Griffin dragging itself. The protagonist wondered where the Griffin went with its fatally wounded body. After following the trail, Daria is surprised to find the Griffin at its nest. He rushed toward Griffin, noticed an egg beneath it, and finally realized this was another reason why it fought the dragon species. Saris looked at it, saw it was an egg, and the protagonist affirmed. Then, he looked at it and realized it would hatch soon, given its appearance. Flem inquired what he plans to do with the egg that he found accidentally. The protagonist smiled excitedly as he was sure that Flem already knew what he would do. He picked up the egg, wanting to raise it and assure Griffin that he would protect its child, no matter what happened, so that it could rest in peace. After some time, it was already evening when they were heading back, and Daria had happily wrapped the egg in his blazer. Saris looked at Griffin's tomb, smiled, and decided to take her leave. Later, at the academy, the principal watched the video and was convinced that with this video evidence, he could persuade the teaching staff and officially authorize the activities of the Daria faction. Saris is pleased to hear that, but Principal Rudolphin mumbled that there might still be those who aren't delighted, which is a challenge for the future. Then he searched for Daria there and asked what happened to him, which left them a bit mortified. Saris explained that the Griffin egg is about to hatch, so Daria told her that he is leaving the report to the principal. On the other side, inside the Daria room, he blushed with excitement as he saw the egg start cracking. He happily kept motivating Griffin, telling it that it could do it, and shortly, the egg hatched. Daria is thrilled as it has finally been born after waiting for a while, and he is so loud that he startled the students below. 5 days have passed since the egg hatched, and the protagonist met with his comrade and asked if they were ready. Then he took out the basket, started opening it, and a bright light emanated from it. Shortly, a white baby griffin peeked out of it, which made Saris blush. After the baby griffin emerged from the basket, it started wagging its tail, spread its wings, and adorably began talking. Saris is delighted after seeing this and remarks that it's so cute, and the protagonist agrees with her, as that is right. Daria explained that this little one hatched from that egg, and it's a baby griffin. He wanted them to be prepared in advance, as he can't handle this cuteness. Flem realized that its body seemed quite sturdy despite being only a few days old. Saris happily started playing with the baby griffin, and Daria explained that this type of griffin develops quickly after birth, allowing it to fly and escape predators. However, it takes quite a while to reach adulthood and finally understand that. Saris kept playing with baby griffin and asked Daria if he had decided on a name for this little one. Daria is surprised to hear about the name, as he hadn't thought about it. He kept pondering, as he wasn't good at naming things, but because that pet was a griffin, he wanted to call it Griri or Fonfon. Both baby Griffin and Saris were annoyed on hearing this name. Flem decided to suggest a name as well, so he thought they should call it Grigri and Daria, liking the sound of it. Saris furiously told them to wait a moment, clarifying that she could suggest a name too, and the baby Griffin wanted her to do it. Daria agreed to let her think as well, and Saris kept pondering about a good name. After thinking for a while, she noticed this little griffin has a distinctive cry. Daria affirmed because even for a baby, it's unusual to make a moo sound. Saris thought that, based on this unique trait, she suggested they name it Moma. She asked them what they thought about this name, as baby Griffin also liked it. Daria is amazed as he likes the name, and Flem remarked that it's a good name. The protagonist excitedly grabbed the baby Griffin, lifted it, and uttered that its name would be Moma from that moment onward. Saris takes a peaceful breath along with Moma, as that is great, and they are saved. While Moma saw the butterfly near it, it got excited and quickly jumped to eat it. 3 of them get worried after seeing that, but Daria is more concerned as Moma isn't used to flying. Therefore, he created a magical circle, jumped high, and wanted to go after it for a bit. He kept chasing Moma, telling it to stop, but Moma kept following the butterfly excitedly. All the students get worried after seeing that, so they quickly make away. While they were still in awe, Daria told them to stay out of the way, and he promptly chased Moma, remarking that it's quite the handful. After chasing for a while since Moma didn't stop, Daria thought it was time to get a bit serious, so he used an advanced magic sphere cage to trap it inside. Moma is a bit startled after seeing that cage, but soon he found an opening in it, so he quickly rushed out of it. The protagonist's face turned pale as he saw this and couldn't believe that it had run away. While chasing the butterfly, Moma looked back toward Daria, who entered the window and accidentally struck the wall. The protagonist worriedly grabbed his head as he already knew what had happened, so he looked inside and asked Moma if it was all right. He worriedly grabbed it, started poking its face, and told it not to be so reckless. Then he looked around, saw a strange gate, and wondered what this place was. After inspecting the door, he realized that this was quite advanced sealing magic for this era. He knew that the only one capable of this level of magic might be the Academy principal. Whatever the case, Daria put his hand on the door because whatever lies beyond this seal is quite intriguing to him. He started exuding an aura, as it doesn't matter how advanced the magic used is, but to him, it's the same as if it weren't locked at all. After breaking the seal, he entered the room excitedly and wanted to know what could be beyond it. His eyes widened in shock as soon as he saw an amazing sword ahead and realized he had found something good. He is glad that he has finally found it, and he thought it still existed in this era, but he never thought it would be kept at the academy. He reached out to grab the sword, but suddenly, Principal Rudolphin approached him and told him not to touch it. He was startled, so he looked behind him, asking the principal when he arrived, and wanted to know the reason he had stopped him. Principal Rudolphin asked Daria if he knew what this sword was. The protagonist affirmed that he already knew this was the war sword Dalha, and the principal affirmed that he was right. Rudolphin explained that it's one of the 5 swords of the Sword Saint, left behind by the legendary magic sword Saint 1,000 years ago. Therefore, only a few people are aware that this sword still exists, and even members of the Supreme Swordsmanship Society rarely have the opportunity to see it in person. Among the 5 swords of the Sword Saint, the war sword Dalha appears frequently in historical books and anecdotes about the magic sword saint. It is famous among historians as the most favored weapon of the magic sword saints. After hearing that, the protagonist started smiling awkwardly as he didn't know that much. He agreed, as it was true that 1,000 years ago he had used 5 excellent swords that he liked, but he never gave them such a grandiose name as the 5 swords of the Sword Saint. Rudolphine explained that the legendary magic sword saint sealed the 5 swords of the Sword Saint in various locations before the final battle with the Demon King. However, it has been a long mystery why he gave up the 5 swords of the Sword Saints before such an important battle. Rudolphin added that in recent years, it has often been interpreted as a means to entrust part of his great power to future sword saints. The protagonist is dumbfounded upon hearing that, as it is wrong, because if he lost to the Demon King Jurenhel, then no one could do as they pleased with his collection. He had just hidden them to come back later and retrieve them. Furthermore, for the final battle with Jurenhel, the protagonist was going to use a magic sword, so he left it behind. He was storing the 5 separately as a precaution, but since he actually died, he thought hiding them was in vain. Rudolphin explained that the war sword Dalha was excavated from an ancient ruin, and due to its rarity, it has been secretly managed by the Academy for many years. He furiously glared at Daria and asked where he learned about the existence of this sword. The protagonist is startled on hearing this, as he doesn't know how to explain it. Rudolphin told him that he doesn't need to make an excuse because his level in magic and swordsmanship is abnormal by any measure. Therefore, it's not hard to imagine that Daria might be harboring an extraordinary secret, so he has no intention of exposing his secret. Since the principal already knew that Daria is protecting the academy and its students, that is enough for him. However, separately from that, he wouldn't recommend Daria rouching the war sword Dalha. The protagonist wondered why, and Rudolphin explained that the sword has a powerful protective magic cast on it. Therefore, until now, anyone who tried to touch it directly has come away unscathed. The protagonist grins after hearing this and asks the principal if he can touch it safely, and then if he can borrow the sword for a while. The principal is shocked to hear that and tries to stop him from touching the sword. As soon as Daria reached out, the sword started exuding an aura, which scared Moma, so he kept calling him worriedly. The protagonist slowly grasped the sword and lifted it, which shocked Rudolphin, who wondered how he was all right. He kept pondering to find the reason why Daria remained unharmed even after touching the sword. Daria is glad as this protective magic doesn't work on the sword's rightful owner, and he told the principal that it was a secret. After some time, he returned and told his comrade about the sword. Flem trembled upon seeing the sword and continued to inspect it from all angles. The protagonist explained that he never thought chasing after Moma would lead him to his sword, and he praised Moma for doing well. Flem asked the protagonist where he had obtained the sword and explained the sense power, which was on par with the holy swords kept by the Supreme Swordsmanship Society. He suggested to Daria that it wasn't something he should casually bring up. Saris is shocked to hear that and supposes it might be a fantastic sword. While they were talking, a purple-haired student arrived, approached the protagonist, and asked if he was Daria. The protagonist affirmed that it was true, but he wanted to know who she was. Before he could even ask for her identity, the purple-haired girl created a magic circle behind him. Daria gets worried on seeing this, as this magic circle is a special class magic, and soon, there was an explosion. Flem quickly took Saris and Moma away to protect them, but they were worried about Daria. While Daria also managed to evade the student attack and asked who she was. The purple-haired girl explained that she was Renee Senbart and had something important to discuss, so she wanted Daria to come with her for a bit. She called him Barrio Westgarden, which shocked the protagonist, as she wondered how she knew about that. The protagonist is shocked to hear this, so he worries and asks Renee what she just said. Renee approached him, asking if he had forgotten his name, and after getting near him, she whispered in his ear, Barrio. Daria was shocked as she knew his name and could use special class magic, so he wondered if this person was really from this era. He decided to go along with this as he needed to gather information, so he agreed to hear her out, which concerned Saris. Renee is glad to hear that they understand it and uttered that that is what she expected of the legendary magic sword saint. The protagonist quickly covered her mouth to stop herself from spouting nonsense and wanted to get going now. While dragging Renee away, he told his comrade to wait for a bit as he would be back soon. Saris worried and wondered if Daria would be alright. On the other side, Renee takes him to the classroom that isn't used in the afternoon. She spun her finger, creating a magical circle around the room. Daria is shocked to learn that she can use sealing magic. Renee explained that she also applied sound-blocking magic at the same time so their conversation wouldn't be heard outside. The protagonist is concerned because this isn't something an ordinary student mage can do, as both sealing and sound blocking are advanced magic. After a while, she sits at the table and wants to get to the main point with Barrio Westgarden. Daria inquired why she kept calling him Barrio when he is Darien, and he never called himself Barrio. Rennie sighed as she wanted him to stop pretending at this point because he used special class magic and the ultimate swordsmanship technique. Since someone like him, who can master both of these, didn't even exist 1,000 years ago, except for the legendary magic sword saint of this era. The protagonist realized, as he had thought, that Renee was alive thousands of years ago. So was he. Renee blushed, telling him that it was right. But now she was in a state where only her soul had been received, having switched places with Renee's soul, the original owner of this body. The protagonist uttered that it's just like him, and Renee is glad as he finally admits it. Daria uttered that there are only a few people who know him and can use special class magic. so he inquired if she was one of the mages who helped him on his way to the Demon King. Or he wondered if she was one of the teachers who taught him magic when he was young. Renée clarified that she is neither, which makes Daria ponder if any other acquaintances can use special class magic and wonder if there is a possibility that he doesn't know her. Renée clarified that it was impossible. Then she came down from the table and uttered that if he thought about it, he should understand. She spoke that for 1,000 years, for a soul that has lost its body to remain in this world, it requires an appropriate level of obsession. Since she can't disappear yet. This is the same for Daria as well, and she asked if she was right. The protagonist affirmed that she is right because his soul was bound to this world for 1,000 years due to regret for not being able to save humanity. He inquired if she was saying that she was in a similar situation, but there was no way someone else might be in that situation. Renée started exuding a strange aura, telling him that she was frustrated, as it had been such an enjoyable battle, but they had ruined it. She mumbled that they have long lifespans, so they should still be alive, so she wanted to find them in this era. Even though those people were her subordinates, they interfered with the most significant battle, so she tried to make them regret it in unbearable agony. The protagonist is dumbfounded as he hears her say that, and soon he realizes that Renée is the reincarnation of the Demon King Jurenhal, so he inquires if that is indeed the case. Renée is delighted as he finally understands that, and she winked as she told him that she is the absolute Demon King. The protagonist can't believe it, telling her that she wasn't that kind of character in the past. He uttered that her first-person pronoun should be they, as she should say they are great, and her speech should be pompous. He can't believe it, as she was that kind of stereotypical strong Demon King, and he was a male. Renée acted all cute, then told him that demons are genderless. Daria furiously refused, as he still doesn't understand it all, because Jurenhal's goal was to annihilate humanity. Renée explained that, and at that time, she was looking for a place where she could unleash her full power. She explained that the one who had propped her up as the Demon King and planned the invasion of human territory was the 4 demon emperors, who were her executives. She knew she should have stopped them, but she wasn't interested in anything. She followed the 4 demon emperors' plans, simply enjoying the use of her power and causing destruction. At the end, she finally got the chance for a decisive battle with the ultimate opponent, the Magic Sword Saint. But for the 4 demon emperors, she was just a violent machine for their invasion. So during that final battle, the ones who killed her and Daria were undoubtedly those 4 demon emperors. The protagonist remembers that the 4 demon emperors were higher-ranking officials of the demon clan, so he is sure they should have just killed the Magic Sword Saint, but not the Demon King. Renée is unsure of the exact reason, but her existence being overwhelmingly stronger than theirs might have been in their way. At that time, other than the magic sword, there were no humans with the power to destroy the demon clans single-handedly. Therefore, by taking care of the Magic Sword Saint and the Absolute Demon King at the same time, the 4 demon emperors might have had much more freedom to move after that. However, the protagonist remembers that in actual history, it's recorded that he defeated the Demon King. He wondered why the 4 demon emperors disappeared from history. Renée has a vague idea of the reason for that, and it's probably related to why their souls awakened after 1,000 years. Daria is startled, and Renée explains that when she and Daria fought the demon clan, the forces were almost completely destroyed. Daria is shocked to learn that the demon clan was almost completely destroyed and inquires about what happened. Renée is annoyed to hear that from him, so she furiously pointed at him, but Daria is still confused as she shouted that he did it. Daria is speechless for a while, and after thinking for a while, he is startled as he realizes how he fought them, so he finally gets it. Renée explained that when she was the Demon King, she was on the verge of death from the battle with Manhwa. She knew there was no future where the demon clan could defeat humanity, and the protagonist asked what happened then. Renée could guess that the 4 demon emperors who took over leadership of the demon clan in her place might have thought. According to historical records, the demon clan has lost its demon king, and as a result, they were driven to the edge of the continent. She thinks the 4 demon emperors ordered a planned retreat. Daria wondered what she meant, and Renée explained that, while the damage was still minimal, they had fled to the edge of the continent on their own, making humans think they had won. Then, until they regained their original strength, they hid their entire demon race. Since the lifespan of demons and monsters is far longer than that of humans, Renée is sure they could wait for a chance to rise again with a very long-term view. Therefore, the time it took them to regain their strength was around 1,000 years. Daria is shocked as that means the demons who had been hiding for those 1,000 years have started to act again in this era. Renee affirmed, telling Dara that since entering this body, she has been investigating various things. The time when Daria's personality suddenly changed, and in other words, when Barua entered that body, was almost the same as when her soul entered this body. She uttered that just before they awakened, there was an anomaly where the sky changed color across the continent. Daria remembers that Saris noticed during the lunch break that the sky color changed for a moment, and he recalls her mentioning something like that. Renee is sure the weakened modern humans couldn't notice it, but that phenomenon seems to have been caused by the diffusion of intense magical powers. Daria is concerned about learning about the mystical power that is strong enough to change the sky color across the continent, so he wondered what kind of scale they are talking about. Renee rambled that magical power was probably from the demon clan, and Daria was stunned on hearing this. Renee deduced that their dormant souls reacted to that intense magical power diffusion and awakened. Daria worriedly grabbed his head as there was too much new information, so he wondered if the recent sudden ferocity of monsters was because of that. Renee concurred, as that is also due to the diffusion of magical power. Daria found it great, as he had finally found the answer to the question he had been seeking for a long time. But he approached Renee. Since the demon clan is showing signs of movement again, it means the war between humans and demons is about to start again. Renee affirmed that it was right, and she grinned happily because humans are much weaker than before, while the demon clan should have fully regained their power. Daria furiously glared at her as he grabbed his sword and asked if she would be his enemy again. Renee calmed down after hearing that and clarified that she wouldn't be his enemy. Daria is shocked to listen to that, wondering why she wouldn't be his enemy when she is also on the demon side. Renee clarified that she is the same as she was 1,000 years ago, and she is just looking for a place where she can let loose. She has no attachment to the demon clan, and she holds a deep grudge against the 4 demon emperors who interfered with their battles. The protagonist is dumbfounded at seeing her exuding an overwhelming aura of anger. Renee's veins started engorging with rage as she looked toward Daria and clarified that she would lend him her power in this era, since he was the legendary magic sword saint. After some time, during their lunch break, Daria recalled that the one who fought 1,000 years ago was Jirenhao, the king of the demon clan. He wonders if she will become an ally of humanity in this life and wonders if that is even possible. At the same time, Daria and Flem stare at Renee, who is cramming her lunch down. Daria wonders if there are some ulterior motives for her helping him, and he wanted to ask why Jirenhao is eating lunch with them. Renee clarified that it is because she doesn't have any other friends, so she came here to eat. The protagonist became somber on hearing this, and he told her not to say such lonely things, recalling how she had rushed to join them. He grabbed his head as he thought they disbanded, yet she howled up again so quickly. Flem has been wondering about something for a while now and asked if she is Renee Sinbart, the top student in the 3rd year of the magic department. Renee affirmed that he was right, and Saris was delighted to hear that, so she asked excitedly if she meant that she was the senior of hers. Daria asked if she was famous, and Saris affirmed, so she explained that Renee was known for disliking interaction with others and rarely showing up outside of classes. There are also stories about her being very mysterious, and Saris, worried, began pondering her enigmatic nature, then stared at her worriedly. Daria is aware that it is bound to be different since its Jirenhao inside now is not Renee. Saris accosted the protagonist and inquired about the nature of Daria's relationship with Renee. She remembers that earlier, Renee suddenly attacked with magic, but now the two of them seem to be getting along. Daria refused as they are not getting along, but that is not true. Renee started pondering the relationship with Daria, and then clarified that they tried to kill each other for real, and the protagonist agreed, as that is right. Saris gets worried after hearing this and thinks they are violent. Flem inquired if they had known each other for a long time. Both of them affirmed, then they glared at each other and uttered that they had known each other for 1,000 years. Flem understood that they had known each other well, and supposed they might be like childhood friends who are entirely at ease with each other. Daria refused, as that isn't the case, and he hardly knows anything about her. Flem clarified that his answer made everything more confusing. After finishing her meal, Renee wiped her mouth and explained that they could get to know each other from that moment onward. So, she reached out and wanted him to be her first friend, but Daria felt chills run down his spine. Saris can't believe that they weren't even friends before. Renee winked at her, telling her she had been living away from people's eyes until this moment, so she didn't have any friends. Daria knew that the reason Jirenhal was isolated now was because of the environment the real Renee had created. Since Renee barely appeared in public, she didn't have any friends, and he asked if there was a reason for that or if she was just a misanthrope. Renee realized that he was curious, and the protagonist concurred, as that is true. Renee knew the answer to that, so he asked Daria if he wanted her to tell him. The protagonist found it suspicious, but Renee clarified that there's nothing to it, so he wanted him to say that she should tell him. After giving it some thought, Daria wanted her to speak to him, and Renee smiled cunningly and then uttered that he should have a little fight with her if he wanted to know. Daria is startled, wondering how it came to this, but he gets worried as Renee exudes an overwhelming aura before he can grab his sword. As soon as he was attacked, he created a barrier around himself to protect himself, but he was pushed out of the cafeteria. Saris gets worried on seeing this, and Flem also calls him out. Daria was outside the cafeteria, so he wanted to know what was going on all of a sudden. Renee approached him while using a special class magic, Dark Lightning, to strike him. Daria is annoyed to see that, so he started dodging all of her attacks, and Renee again used special class magic Dark Harpoon to attack, which causes a blast. The protagonist managed to protect himself with a magic barrier and is annoyed. But Renee is about to cast another special class magic, Necromant's Gate, on him, and Daria told her that it is enough. A massive gate appeared behind Renee, and as soon as it opened, several dark spirits went toward him. Daria started getting rid of it, and he cursed her, as Renee thought, rampaging without holding back, and she felt great. Daria worriedly asked Renee what her objective was, and Renee clarified that if she was rampaging this much, he could feel it. She wanted Daria to concentrate and feel Renee's magical power dispersed in the surroundings. The protagonist is startled, so he looks at Renee's magic power, which seems to be almost limitless due to the influence of Jirenhal's soul. Even though the magic power is different from the old Jirenhal's, he can sense the characteristics of human magic power, and he is startled as he finally gets it. Renee saw his reaction, so he supposed he might have figured it out. Daria affirmed that he now understood why the real Renee avoided people. Since within Renee's magic power, there is initially a slight mix of demon clan characteristics. Since he understood everything, Renee came down and explained that it was right, as she thinks Renee inherited a little bit of demon blood. After pondering for a while, Renee supposed it might be having a demon ancestor somewhere in the family tree. Even though Daria doesn't mind it, half-breeds of humans and demons are not well liked by either race. So he finally realized why Renee avoided socializing to keep it hidden from others. Renee assures him that he doesn't need to worry about it because this body has demon blood flowing through it, so she thinks his soul is attracted toward it. She felt a bit apologetic about that point, as it wasn't like she wanted to take over the body. However, after she has properly gotten her revenge on the 4 demon emperors, she is thinking of looking for a way to return the body. Daria clarified that after he settled things in the fight against the demons, he also wanted to return this body to its rightful owner. Renee excitedly told him that for this to happen, they need to deal with those who are currently leading the demons, the 4 demon emperors. The protagonist noticed her exuding a killing aura as she talked about the 4 demon emperors and realized her hatred was intense. He asked if she attacked him to tell him that, and Renee affirmed that that was her intention as well, but she wanted to fight a bit. Daria sighed, telling her that she is a human now, so she should try to be a bit more peaceful. Renee again exuded a tremendous aura as she told Daria they should take this chance to settle things clearly. She wanted to know who was stronger between the absolute demon king and the magic sword saint. She charges toward him to attack with her claws, which concerns Daria, but he quickly creates a magic circle to block her. He then rushes back and tells Renee to stop, as it's not like 1,000 years ago. He has no intention of killing each other there. Renee pondered for a while, then she created a little magic circle and wanted to do something else. She put a brooch on Daria's blazer and called it a brooch made by crystallizing magic power. She rambled that whoever destroys the other's brooch first wins and attacks after that is forbidden. Renee winked at him and was sure that this rule wouldn't develop into a killing match. Daria felt like it could be dangerous if they went all out, attacking each other's breeches. Renee told him that he had to protect himself well and was sure he could do that because he was the legendary magic sword saint. The protagonist grabbed his head as he asked if she wanted to fight, and Renee excitedly affirmed. He guessed he had no choice if she insisted, so he pointed his sword toward her and wanted to settle things from the past. Renee is thrilled to know that this confirms he is right, as that is more like it, so she pointed her sword at him as well. Meanwhile, Saris is concerned about seeing this, wondering how it turned into this situation. As soon as both of them charged toward each other, they kept exchanging several powerful strikes. After a while, Renee is pushed back, which thrilled her, but she again lunges at him and tries to strike. Daria furiously grits his teeth on realizing that she can use swordsmanship of that level as well. Renee clarified that she is the Demon King, so she should use magic and swordsmanship to this extent. After a while, both of their sword clashed with each other, and Renee stepped back, then used special class magic, Shadow Laser. Daria also didn't hold back, so he used special class magic, Shining Laser. Both of their magic struck each other and caused an explosion. Renee is surrounded by dust, so she starts coughing and can't see ahead. But soon, she is startled as she sees Daria near her. Daria excitedly told her that this tension reminds him of 1,000 years ago, since he also left with regrets because he couldn't settle the outcome in the past. That is why Daria is going all out, and he wanted Renee to savor the strongest power of humanity to her heart's content. After he tried to land a strike at Renee, she quickly blocked it and uttered "That's great," as it felt like a continuation from thousands of years ago. Daria pushed her back, telling her that since they are doing this, he will absolutely win. He swiftly went to her, which startled her, and his attack slammed her to the wall. Saris worriedly peeked out to see her senior, Renee, and remind Daria that it was going too far. Daria told her there was no problem, which confused Saris, but she was startled as soon as she saw Renee standing again. Renee again exudes an overwhelming aura as she charges toward Daria and uses her magic life crash to strike. Daria gets worried, but he started blocking her magic and counterattacked her, but she dodged it. Daria started coughing and realized that she was merciless as he expected. Renee is certain that if she lets her guard down even a little, she would be the one getting beaten. She wanted him to feel honored, as there is no one else who could be such an opponent beside him. Daria thanked her but reminded her that if this drags on too long, then the academy will be in ruins. But this can't be helped, so he exudes his aura as he is prepared to launch another attack and clarified that he would end it with the next move. He covered his battle sword, Dalha, with an aura and uttered that it had been a while since he had relied on it. Renee also created a magic circle and realized he was pretty confident, but clarified that he was the one who was going to lose, so she launched her attack first. Daria quickly got rid of her magic that startled Renee, and he kept charging at her. He elucidated that the war sword Dalha is the sword that, when its owner draws out all of its power, it can slash through special class magic. Renee is rampaging after seeing that, so she again activated another special class magic to strike him, but he again gets rid of it. Daria rambled that it had recently been given a grandiose name, one of the 5 swords of the Sword Saint, and was one of his favorite blades. Renee pointed her sword at him, furiously glaring at him, and affirmed she wouldn't lose, so she unleashed a slash that targeted her opponent's brooch. The protagonist noticed it, so he quickly dodged it and managed to crack his brooch slightly. While the Daria sword also approached near the Renee brooch, it penetrated it, and he promptly broke it in half. He laughed excitedly because the match was decided, and he put his sword back in the sheath. Renee is in a state of complete shock after facing her defeat, and Daria gets worried as he saw her crying because she lost. She lay on the ground, started moving her limbs to protest, and kept crying as she hated losing. Daria can't believe it, so she asked if she was a child, and Renee sat again. Then she suggested they should fight to the death. The protagonist immediately refused, which annoyed Renee. He reminded her that she had a goal to defeat the 4 demon emperors, so he wanted her to go on a rampage to her heart's content over there. Renee furiously pouted, but Daria uttered that winning after 1,000 years still makes him feel incredibly good. Renee grabbed her head and started shouting as she found him quite annoying. Saris rushed out worriedly and called Daria and Senior Renee, then quickly grabbed Renee to stop her from fighting further. The protagonist knew that if he was going to face off against the demon clan from this moment onward, then he had to obtain more power. He realized this was the time when he needed to search for something beyond special class magic. He wanted to find the magic that deviates from the typical magic system and the ancient text describing mythical class magic. After some time, the protagonist gets up early and jogs to increase his body endurance. After running for a while, he is exhausted, so he stops to take a break. He remembers that it has been about a week since he reunited with Jurenhel, and in preparation for the major battle with the demon clan, which has stirred after thousands of years, he has begun to train Daria's body seriously, and while making sure to train his body every day, He already knows that the next thing he needs is mythical class magic. After giving it some thought, Daria recalls that Saris mentioned something about a big festival coming up soon, and the academy will be closed for about a week. He started washing his face and thought it might work well timing-wise, as he already needed some time to prepare for the journey. After a while, he was with Saris and Flem when Renee rushed toward him, happily calling him. After that, Renee also barged into his class, followed him in the garden, and tagged along with him wherever he went. Daria told him to cut it out of it as she kept lingering around him. Saris is annoyed because somehow, Senior Renee has stolen her mentor, so she has mixed feelings about this. Flem laughed after hearing this and clarified it's less like stealing and more like she is chasing him around. Saris doesn't care about it because, either way, the fact is that she is spending less time with Daria. She handed Moma to Flem, then approached her senior, Renee, and wanted to have a contest for Daria. The protagonist is worried after hearing that, but Renee is shocked, wondering what is wrong. Saris went to her and annoyingly clarified that she wanted to chat with Daria as well. Daria worriedly looked at Renee, telling her she was the reason Saris had gone weird as well. Renee pondered and wondered if that was not okay, as Daria is one of her few friends, even counting her time as a demon. The protagonist is shocked to hear that he and Renee are friends, but she whispers in Renee's ear, telling her that she is a girl, so she shouldn't cling to him so casually. Renee can't understand it, as demons are genderless. Daria clarified that this is not what he meant, and he supposed Renee doesn't understand the appropriate level of physical contact. From his perspective, it's embarrassing in public for her to cling to him this much, as all the eyes are on them. Renee doesn't care about anything, but it sounds interesting to her, so she accepted Saris' challenge to fight. Both of them were prepared to fight, and the protagonist was concerned because it was getting complicated again. While Flem is playing with Moma and brushing her hair, he realizes things are getting quite enjoyable again. Saris suggested that first they should compete in studying and compare their scores on a quiz. After Saris worked so hard on studying, Renee didn't work that hard and efficiently acquired full marks. She showed Saris her mark sheet, and Saris lost this round because she got 62 points. She knelt in sadness as she lost, and Daria looked at her mediocre scores. Saris didn't lose hope, so she decided to move on to the next challenge, and she wanted to compete in physical activities, but Renee won in that as well. Saris lies on the ground, mortified, and Renee asks if she has already lost. Saris didn't give up that easily and clarified that the final challenge will be practical magic. After she saw Renee using magic, her mouth opened wide, and she looked at Daria in utter despair. Daria wondered what was wrong, and Saris started crying because Senior Renee is too strong, but she is too weak. Daria found it understandable because Renee was the Demon King in the past, so it's natural that Saris can't win. Saris is gloomy because the only special class magic she can use is Prominence Gate, so Senior Renee, who can use many special class magics, is the winner. Renee is startled to hear that and asks if it's okay if she wins. Saris affirmed, telling her that the rights concerning Daria belong to her senior, Renee. Renee clarified that it's fun, which shocked Saris, wondering what she meant. Renee explained that she didn't have the chance to compete with anyone before, so it was fun for her, and she thanked Saris for playing with her. Saris's eyes filled with tears after hearing that, and she shook hands with her. Renee wanted to be friends with Saris since they played together so much, and Saris agreed to do that. Renee happily holds her as she gains another friend now and clarifies that regarding the rights to Daria, she doesn't need it. Saris is shocked to hear that, and Renee explained that even if she got it, she probably wouldn't have a chance to use it for a while. Daria is annoyed to hear this and looks at Flem, considering the treatment a bit harsh. Saris wondered what she meant, and Renee clarified that she had pretty much gathered all the information she could from the academy, so he was planning to leave the academy for a while. Later, at the training area, the two students who were members of the Daria factions were training hard. Saris saw this, so she happily remarked that the two of them are amazing, and Flem agreed, as they have improved a lot. At the same time, the protagonist was sitting on the bench with Renee and asked if she was leaving the academy to investigate the demons' movements. Renee affirmed, telling him that if the demons have already started moving, then they need to understand the situation properly. She knew that waiting until they invaded the human territory would be too late. The protagonist agreed, as that is true, so he inquired if he should lend a hand to her. Renee refused, as she will be fine on her own for now, and she wanted him to keep training everyone. She is sure that if the demons seriously restart their invasion, then no matter how she looks at it, they wouldn't be enough to fight. Therefore, the more people who can fight, the better it is for the plan to succeed. Daria agreed with her, so he intended to train them well, so they could protect what they wanted to protect. He remembered something, so he told her that he was considering taking a short trip during the upcoming festival break. Since that is for training, he is taking Saris and the others with him, and they will return soon after that. Renee inquired where he was planning to go, and Daria replied that he was planning to visit the ancient ruins in the north, as there is one of the mythical class magics that is sleeping. Renee kept pondering about the mythical class magic, as that is from very far back, thousands of years ago, and is from the mythical era when super magic was created. Daria affirmed that this is what he is looking for, and unlike other magic mythical class magic to activate it, he needs to directly engrave vast knowledge that is undecipherable in modern times into his body. In the past, Daria could utilize several mythical class magics, but to use them again with this body, he must visit the ruins of the mythical era and re-embed the knowledge within his body. Since the one sleeping in the northern ancient ruin is a light attribute, it is a mythical class known as the Divine Horizon. Renee started recalling Divine Horizon as that sounded familiar somehow. Daria clarified that it might be because it's the magic that dealt massive damage to Jurenhal. After hearing this, Renee is startled as she finally remembers that she was left tattered because of that magic. She finally understood that, and is certain that with this magic, their future battles will become easier in the upcoming clash with the demons. After conversing for a while, Renee decided to take her leave and told him that the preparations were perfect. Saris started crying after seeing that her senior, Renee, was leaving when they had just become friends. Renee gently pats her head and apologizes to Saris, telling her she will come back once she has made progress with her magic research. Daria knew that the official reason for Renee's leaving the academy was to research magic, since at this point talking about demons and such would be incomprehensible for others and would only cause confusion. Renee looked at Daria, winked at him, and then waved at all of them to leave with the hope of seeing them later. After that, Renee set off on her journey, and until the academy break for the festival. About 2 weeks later, Daria focused on training himself and those around him. And the day of the festival arrived. The protagonist is a bit confused about the festival, as they didn't have these in his times, so he wondered what they are celebrating. Saris explained it's a festival to celebrate the peace established by the legendary magic sword saint. Flem rambled that whether the legendary magic sword saint actually existed was uncertain, but he thought it was wonderful to celebrate peace like this. Daria agreed with him, as he was right, but he didn't establish this peace. It just happened to appear peaceful for 1,000 years. Since all the preparations are made, Daria thought it's time for them to depart, and he wanted to show them how he can save humanity with his own hands again. For thousands of years, it's been a very long and bitter period of time since the demon clan was on the verge of extinction during their war with humans. So the demon emperor thought that the time had come for the demon clan to be revived because the troublesome magic sword, Scient, and the absolute demon king had already left this world. Therefore, he wanted all the demons to advance and progress the invasion of human territory. On the other hand, the protagonist embarks on his journey with his comrades, while Renee searches in the cave. However, the demon emperor wants to begin the battle anew. While walking on the bridge, Saris started feeling dizzy because of the height, but she kept telling herself not to look down. The protagonist looked to the side and told them to take a look, as it's a nice view. Saris looked at it, and she requested that Daria hurry up, as she is scared. Daria wondered what was wrong with her as they still had a way to go before reaching the northern ruins. He wanted to enjoy this beautiful scenery while they could. Saris clarified that she is interested in the lovely view, but more than anything, she wants to quickly cross this suspicion bridge. After successfully crossing the bridge, Saris knelt from exhaustion, and the protagonist began drinking water while looking at her. Daria noticed that she is scared of falling, so he told her to practice flying magic at an intermediate level. Saris is startled to hear about the flying magic, and Daria clarified that it is what he usually uses. He told her that if she mastered flying magic, then even if that bridge from earlier collapsed, he, Saris, and Moma would be safe. Flem imagined the entire scenario, so he raised his hand and asked what about him. But the protagonist told him that, unfortunately, he would end up miserable. He felt dejected after hearing this and thought he could ride on Moma when it got bigger. The protagonist clarified that he was kidding, as he could take him along, and uttered that it was true that things would be easier if they had more friends who could fly. Since their destination for this trip is the northern ancient ruins, and to gain knowledge of mythical class magic, he needs unyielding willpower. He is sure that if Flem or Ceres were to attempt it, their mind would be incinerated in an instant. Since it's difficult for the two of them to learn mythical class magic at their current level, there is undoubtedly value in them coming along on this journey. He explained that this mountain has many open areas and there's no one around, which means they can do flashy training that they couldn't do at the academy. Flem thought it was perfect for coming up with new ultimate sword techniques, and Ceres also wanted to do her best to learn flying magic as well. Daria wished to achieve their goal by the end of this journey by trying their best. After some time, Ceres started practicing her magic, but she got scared as the magic was intense, so she flew far away while shouting. Daria is worried about seeing this because her magical power is too strong. On the other side, Flem was practicing his swordsmanship fiercely, and the protagonist watched it. Then he told them to watch his technique, so he quickly charges forward toward the tree shot while using the flying magic and all other magic to strike it. He explained that it was a combination of the flying magic that Ceres was practicing and the ultimate sword technique that Flem was practicing. After attacking the tree with the combination of those skills, he easily got rid of it, and Flem is amazed, as he expected this. Daria is glad, as this body is getting quite used to his movements now, and he is delighted, as he will be able to finish preparing before the full-scale battle with the demon clan. While he is pondering, Ceres accosts Daria, wanting him to look ahead. Daria looked ahead and realized that they had finally arrived at the northern ancient ruins, the Yamu ruins. Ceres is in awe as she can't believe there is genuinely a ruin in a place like this. Flem found it strange, as they had never heard of them, even though they are not that far from the academy. Daria explained that a magic spell is cast on these ruins, so that only people who know about them can perceive them, and that is why most people can't find them. He started stretching his body as they were going inside, and he wanted his comrade to be careful so that they could stretch their bodies. Ceres wondered why, and Flem started stretching his body, uttering that ancient ruins from the mythical era and their knowledge of powerful magic hidden away, so it might hold a terrifying guardian. Ceres gets scared after hearing this, but she kept going down and asked what the correct answer is. The protagonist clarified that it was true, and shortly after, they heard a loud sound that scared Ceres. Daria explained that his senior prediction form earlier was spot on. Abruptly, the floor started shaking, which made Ceres scared, and shortly, a giant guardian approached them. The guardian lunges forward to strike, but Daria easily blocked it, attacked him back, and wanted to show the Guardian of Ruin what they are capable of. On the other side, Renee was standing on the cliff and realized that her prediction was spot on as she looked at the devastated town ahead. She figured out that the demon clan had begun their invasion again, and within the magical power that remains in this area, she can clearly sense the presence of one of the 4 demon emperors, and she is relieved that she will adequately be able to get her revenge. Even if that is the case, she thought it might be because she is borrowing Renee's body. But seeing the human village utterly destroyed like this makes her a little angry. She put her hand on her chest and wanted Renee not to worry as she would settle her anger for her, and she wanted to beat the hell out of these demons together. On the contrary, the protagonist is fighting with the ruined guardian, and he realizes that the guardian wouldn't budge an inch as usual. He quickly rushed back and uttered, "That brings back memories." In the past, he had cursed his fortune, but now he was in this mess, finally having reached the location of the mythical class magic. 1,000 years or so ago, Yamu Ruin Baryua uttered that nobody had told him there would be such a dangerous guardian there, but he didn't consider this a bad thing. Since he already knew there was much to learn from fighting against the strong, he wanted to become much stronger to save humanity. Baryua summoned several magical circles and thought that if this were for that trial purpose, then he would face it head-on. The protagonist remembers that in the past, he was full of spirit, but he couldn't win at all. Therefore, after finding an opening to acquire the mythical class magic, he ran away as fast as he could, as he was still inexperienced. Therefore, Daria considered this a rematch, as there was much to learn from fighting against a strong opponent. He informed his comrade that the great guardian of the ruin will be their training partner. Flem rushed toward the guardian as he wanted to show him his new ultimate sword technique that he had developed during their journey. As soon as he tried to attack the guardian wanted to strike him as well, but Flem dodged it and went behind him. Then he used his ultimate sword technique, Circle Formation Great Slash, to attack the guardian. While Ceres also summoned the Prominence Gate as she wanted to follow up. Before she could succeed, the guardian charged at her, catching her off guard. Ceres has been working hard practicing during this journey as well, so she used the flying magic to dodge the attack. As soon as the Guardian looked back at her, Ceres again activated the Prominence Gate and struck it, which burned the Guardian and caused a flare-up. Ceres is glad to learn that she finally did it, and she looks forward to asking Daria if he sees that she's successful in using flying magic in actual combat. While excitedly bragging, she didn't notice that the Guardian approached her and tried to attack her. Ceres gets scared as she is unable to dodge it, but Flem stepped in to block the attack, but both of them were shortly thrown away. Daria flickered his finger to create a cushion behind his comrade, clarifying that he was watching, ready to jump in if things got dangerous. But both of them fought well with their new techniques, and he quickly charged toward the Guardian, struck it, and remarked that he was delighted. He kept attacking the Guardian, then vanished from his sight and appeared behind him to launch a surprise attack. He successfully hit him and was pushed away, so Daria accosted Ceres and Flem, telling them that they both showed excellent fighting. Then he grins as he wanted them to watch him fighting from that moment onward, as it's the magic sword saint's time to shine. He charges toward the Guardian while telling his comrade that head-on sword clashes are certainly not in his favor. However, he has prepared a countermeasure for that. After arriving near the Guardian, he rushed behind it and quickly struck at its back. The Guardian started swinging his sword after the surprise attack, but Daria had already gone away and again sneakily attacked his back, which startled the Guardian. Ceres saw him fighting and was impressed by seeing Daria's skills. Flem remarked that, due to the recent training, Daria's physical abilities appear to have improved even further. While the protagonist is fighting, he knows his opponent is strong in head-on confrontations, but slow to react to attacks from blind spots. Since that was his weakness, he wanted to exploit it for his own benefit, and he quickly struck the Guardian again. Since the Guardian was already in a challenging situation, Daria thought it was time to finish this ultimate sword technique. He used his skill Swift Strike Shadow Break to strike the Guardian at multiple sites, and after a while, he finally launched his last substantial blow. Daria felt delighted because, thousands of years ago, he regretted not properly defeating the Guardian, and sometimes he wondered if he was unworthy of wielding mythical class magic. However, this time he has proven his strength, and he happily looked at the Guardian that he split in half. Ceres is glad to see that because Daria finally managed to do that. Daria excitedly asked her what she thought about it, and was sure she might believe that her master was strong, and Ceres affirmed. After the victory, they continued to progress for a while, and Daria saw a massive gate at the front, so he informed them that it was the place they were looking for. Flem is in awe as he has never seen such an enormous door. Daria put his hand on the door and clarified that to access mythical class magic, they need to pour a massive amount of magical power into this giant door. After pouring the mana into the door, it began to illuminate with a bright light that dazzled his comrade's vision. Shortly, the door started opening, and Ceres was glad because they had finally arrived. Daria explained that this is the goal of their journey, and he finally saw the ancient scroll recording mythical class magic, the Idea Scroll, which surprised his comrades. Daria has briefly mentioned before that not everyone can master mythical class magic. That is because without strong willpower, the influx of vast knowledge will incinerate their soul. The protagonist decides to make it easier for them to understand and give them an idea of how tough it is. Even if he attempted it, there is a chance he could die. Flem is worried after hearing this, so he realizes it's perilous, and the protagonist affirms it, but Doris doesn't believe it. The protagonist stepped forward to take on this life-risking challenge. After arriving at the stage, he reached out to get the scroll, and soon he was surrounded by the scroll. Daria has often been known for mastering mythical class magic during his era as a magic sword saint. Therefore, he knew how to handle it, so he started regulating his breathing and stabilizing his mind. After he is thoroughly prepared, he opens his eyes and is ready to go. As he is fully prepared, the words started engraving on his body, making it hard for him to tolerate, so he started shouting in pain, which concerned his comrades. The protagonist knew the vast knowledge was engraved on his body, so he felt so hot that his brain felt like it was about to burn out, and he started crying. After a while, he saw himself before the mythical class magic scroll and knew it had been a while since he had been through the pain of acquiring mythical class magic. However, he can't complain about something like this because to protect humanity from the demon invasion, they need magical class magic. Therefore, he reached out to the scroll, grabbed a golden orb from it, and wanted to take the mythical class magic, Divine Horizon. Shortly, the golden energy surrounded Daria, and the scroll started wrapping up and went back to its original position. Ceres gets worried on seeing Daria falling, but Flem quickly goes to him and grabs him in time. Dara happily accosted his senior, and Flem inquired if he got the mythical class magic. The protagonist looked at his hand happily and told him that he finally got it. He has successfully mastered the mythical class magic, and he is glad because his senior and Ceres have improved their combat skills as well. The protagonist realized that the journey was a great success for him. Ceres is relieved that Daria is safe and sound, and Flem is also relieved. Before leaving, the protagonist recalls something that he needs to do in the ruins. They need to restore He Guardian. Therefore, he started restoring the Guardian and woke it up. Ceres wondered if that was okay to do after they had just defeated it. Daria explained that if someone else were to come, they would need the Guardian to test their abilities. Furthermore, it is the job of the Guardian to turn away unskilled mages before they attempt mythical class magic and lose their lives. The protagonist explained that they still need it to work for them. Ceres gets worried, wondering what they should do as the Guardian seems ready to fight. As soon as the Guardian stared at them, Daria clarified that they should run away with all their might to save themselves, which scared Ceres. The 6th day of the festival period, they were returning to the academy, and Daria clarified that if they walked this road for one more day, they would be back at the academy. Flem is sure they would arrive just as the festival ends, and he learned a new ultimate sword technique. But it's a bit disappointing that they couldn't enjoy the festival. After hearing about the festival, Daria inquired whether the nobles from the royal capital, as well as prominent figures from the Central Magic Institute and the Supreme Swordsmanship Society, would also be attending. Flem affirmed, and after thinking it over, he realized it was good they were away because the Supreme Swordsmanship Society was still disappointed in him for losing to Daria in their match. Daria remarked that his senior has talent in swordsmanship, so he doesn't need to worry about pleasing the authorities. Flem sadly uttered that if he could do that, then it would be great. Abruptly, Malma noticed something, so it started waving toward Daria to capture its attention, and was trying to say something. The protagonist is startled to see it acting weird and inquires what the matter is. Abruptly, Ceres looked ahead and saw a black smoke appearing from that place, and she supposed there might be a village ahead. Daria gets worried after seeing that amount of smoke, which a simple fire can't explain, so he finally gets an idea what that is. He started rushing toward the smoke source, and after arriving at the village, he got worried as he saw several corpses there, and the houses were being burned down. He also saw the corpse of a demon, so he wondered if a monster had attacked it. He kept looking around to see if there were any survivors. Abruptly, he saw Renee standing on the collapsed building and got the wrong idea. He is in an utter state of shock after seeing Jurenhal there, and Renee looked at him. Renee is startled to see Daria there as well, and the protagonist inquires if she is the one who did this. Renee summoned her sword, which worried Daria, so he grabbed his sword as a countermeasure. Abruptly, a monster appeared behind her that lunged at her to strike, and Daria worriedly informed her about the beast. Renee quickly looked back and split the monster in half with a single strike. After getting rid of the beast, Renee takes a peaceful breath, as that is finally over. Flem looked ahead and asked the protagonist what this situation was. Ceres is worried about her senior, Renee, and Daria asked Renee what was going on. Renee uttered that it was her line, as she also wanted to know why Dara and the others were in such a place. Now that she recalled it, Daria and his comrades said they had been leaving the academy for a bit. The protagonist affirmed, telling her they are on their way back now. Renee wanted to explain the situation later, but first she wanted Daria to put out the fire. After he extinguished the fire, Renee explained that after leaving the academy to accomplish her travel goal, she headed west toward the edge of the continent. Daria remembers that Renee's travel goal was to investigate the movements of the demon clan, but she is keeping this from Ceres and the others, as she is being roundabout in her explanation. Renee kept explaining that on the way, she found the village burned down by monsters. Flem inquired if this was one of them, but Renee refused and explained that the monsters were heading straight for a particular place, so every village in their path was attacked without exception. Ceres gets worried on hearing this, and Daria is a bit annoyed. Renee clarified that it was the 15th one that the monster attacked, which worried all of them. She rambles that the monsters formed a large horde and are continuing their invasion. She has been following their trail and clearing out the remaining monsters in the attacked villages. Daria finally understood why Renee was alone in the burning town, and Renee affirmed. The protagonist worriedly asked where the beast was heading. Renee elucidated that if their course doesn't change, they will end up at a pace they are all familiar with. Daria becomes worried after hearing this and wonders if she is being referred to their academy. Renee rambled that it is the most suspected place where the absolute demon king was once defeated. In other words, they will be attacking Burrito Academy, which is in the middle of the festival right now, which is the declaration of the revival of the demon clan, since that person likes that kind of performance. Saris wondered what does she meant by the revival of the demon clan, and Daria asked who she was talking about. Renee explained that there were traces of distinctive magical power throughout the journey, and the owner of that magic might be leading the horde of monsters. Renee furiously grits her teeth as she remembers that magical presence clearly. She started exuding a terrifying aura and uttered that those fools dared to interfere with her entertainment. He was one of the 4 demon emperors, the demon emperor of cunning, Radius. Meanwhile, at the academy, they were celebrating the festival, and Radius finally arrived there with his army. Radius knew this was a festival celebrating the peace that the magic sword saint established. He has heard a lot about this festival, but he found it foolish because the peace that humanity has enjoyed for the past 1,000 years was merely temporary. Radius stated that peace would last until the demon clan regained its power, and the present-day humanity's peace would come to an end. He settled his glasses, smiled cunningly, and uttered that day the demon clan shall trample everything. He summoned a massive magical circle, Calamity Summoning Manifest, and summoned Hell Neva's Zeeg to start the destruction. He started laughing wickedly and commanded his horde of monsters to begin the march, because the peace that humanity had enjoyed for thousands of years would be crushed there. Daria gets worried after hearing about the demon emperor of cunning and asks if he is the one leading the monsters toward their academy. Renee concurred, telling him that humans of this era are no match for Radius and his monsters. So if they don't hurry to help, then the academy will end up like the other village. Saris is confused to learn about the demon clan and the 4 demon emperors, as she wanted to know what they were talking about. Daria accosted both Saris and Flem, apologized to them because their training journey was over. He had planned to continue training on the way back, but they ran out of time. He flicked his finger, created a magical circle around them, and then headed inside so that they could leave first. He assured them that he would explain everything on their way, but they needed to head to the academy as soon as possible. On the other side of the academy, the monster has started breaking through the wall and invading it. The students get scared after seeing this, and they kept running away, wondering what that monster was doing there. At the same time, his comrade told him to run to Burrito Academy to save themselves. All of them kept running toward the academy while being chased by the Hell Navis Zeeg and other monsters. After seeing this, Hell Navis Zeeg shouted loudly, and Radius came forward, clarifying that after so long without slaughter, Zeeg's heart seemed to be racing with excitement again. While the students hid and ran away to protect themselves from the monster, the entire town was already surrounded by them. Radius looked around, recalling that it was the wasteland where the magic sword saint and his majesty, the demon king, had fought. He furiously grits his teeth as it really makes him feel the weight of the 1,000 years they have lost is lifted. He wanted to soothe his frustration with the humans' fear and screams. Momentarily, Rudolphin came out and told him that he wouldn't let him do that. He introduced himself as the principal of Burrito Academy Rudolphin and clarified that it is their duty as teachers to protect the peace of Burrito Academy and this academy town. He started summoning his magic to strike and uttered that the uninvited guests who threaten the academy will be sent packing by them. Radius smirked cunningly and started mocking them, apologizing to them but wanting them to face reality. Since the 1,000 years of peace have weakened humans, yet their hostility remains full-grown, which is comical for him. Radius started exuding his demonic energy, so Rudolphin told the teacher to be ready with all their heart and soul, as they need to defend this land. All the teachers rushed toward Radius to strike, but before they could inflict an injury on Radius, he clarified that they were too slow. He easily blocked all of their strike and found it quite pitiable. After playing for a while, he covered his fist with demonic energy and punched the teacher on his chest, throwing him far away. While the other teacher still didn't give up and tried to attack him, Radius grabbed his sword between his fingers and easily threw him far away. At the same time, Professor Rima and the other professors started casting advanced magic flash bullet to attack him. However, that wasn't enough to harm him, so Radius commanded Zeeg to get rid of that, and the monster quickly got rid of those flash bullets. Professor Rima is dumbfounded after witnessing this, and soon Zeeg stared at them, then reached out to grab them. Rima can't believe it, wondering how that's possible. Before they could get attacked, Daria immediately appeared there and struck Zeeg. Radius is shocked upon seeing this, wondering how that is possible. Daria is glad because somehow they made it in time. On the other side, at Burrito Academy, the students of the Daria faction were fighting with the monsters. Abruptly, the magician noticed that the beast was attacking his comrade and was having a hard time dealing with it, but she soon pushed it back. Even though the monster is pushed back, it charges toward the girl again, causing her worry. However, the mage quickly struck the monster and helped her out. The girl looked back, thanked him for his help, and charged toward the monster. The monster trembles in fear, unable to do anything at that time, and the girl quickly kills it. The girl looked around, getting worried because a considerable number of monsters were pouring in from the academy town, so she wondered what was happening. She looked around and realized that at this time, the only ones who can fight these monsters on equal footing are the students of the Daria faction trained by her senior Daria. She looked at the other students peeking outside and didn't want to let the regular students and those who had fled from the academy town fight these battles. She wanted to do her best to help them out, and her comrade reassured her that it would be all right. He is sure that the girl saw it as well, that light in the sky earlier, as that is undoubtedly Senior Daria. The boy is sure that the senior will settle this commotion and bring peace to them. The girl agreed because he was right, so the boy wanted to take care of these monsters because the Daria faction should protect this academy. On the other side, the protagonist hit the monster Zieg and knocked it down. Radius' mouth opened wide with shock on seeing this, wondering how that's possible. Daria went down after getting rid of that monster, and is sure that he is one of the 4 demon emperors, so she asked if he is the demon emperor of cunning, Radius. Radius is shocked to hear that, wondering how he knew his name and asked about his identity. The protagonist charges at him to strike and clarifies that he has no obligation to introduce himself to an enemy. Radius quickly dodged his attack and never thought there would be someone who could wield a sword so sharply in this era. After facing such a promising opponent, Radius didn't want to hold back anymore, so he commanded all of his monsters to kill Daria, which concerned the protagonist. On hearing Radius' command, all the monsters charged toward him. Daria guessed he had no choice but to face them, so he started killing all the monsters on his way. However, he is worried as there are too many endless monsters. However, he is startled as he sees Ceres summon Prominence Gate, and its flames get rid of many of those monsters. Shortly, Flem came in, and he attacked the monster using the ultimate sword technique Circle Formation Great Slash. After a while, Renee arrived there as well and couldn't believe it because Daria is too fast. Since he always rushed ahead alone and ended up in pinches like this. She stood amidst the monsters that they were attacking, but she quickly got rid of them. Renee winked at Daria, telling him that when he has such reliable comrades, he should learn to rely on them properly. Rudolphin is shocked to see this, wondering what is happening, and he can't believe that mere students could subdue that horde of monsters. Radius furiously grits his teeth on seeing this, wondering what is happening. Since they got rid of the monster, Daria wanted to have a match with Radius. Radius mocked him as he never thought of a match between him and a human. He never thought he would be taken so lightly by the weak humans of this era, so he commanded Hell Neva's Zieg to rise. Zieg started rising again, and Radius asked if he wanted a match. He wanted Daria to be thrilled because he, as one of the 4 demon emperors who lead the demon clan, would obliterate him with his own hands. Radius charges toward the protagonist and keeps him pushing back by continuously striking. The protagonist becomes worried after being cornered and quickly strikes back, then repeatedly strikes Radius. Radius wasn't concerned, even facing such an attack, so Daria summoned both fire and water elements with the flicker of his fingers to hit him. Radius hardly evaded the attack, but he is startled to see Daria charging at him upon seeing him being distracted. He quickly dodged the attack, then rushed away, but Daria followed him and clarified that he wouldn't escape from his grasp. Abruptly, Zieg quickly rushed behind his master, and Radius smiled cunningly on seeing things turning in his favor. Renee saw this, so she used special class Magic Life Crash on Zieg and managed to land a substantial strike on it. Radius furiously grits his teeth and asks who they really are. He looked at Daria, as he is the one who has mastered both magic and swordsmanship at such a high level. At the same time, Renee is the one who can use special class magic powerful enough to blow away part of Zieg. Radius is infuriated because both of these are beyond the common sense of humans in this era. He found it infuriating because, according to his plan, they were supposed to ravage this academy one-sidedly, and yet he didn't know what this situation was. He furiously shouted that he hates nothing more in this world than when his carefully laid plans go awry. Radius rambled that at that time, he felt this way was because of those 2 despicable meddlers, the Magic Sword Saint and the Demon King, thousands of years ago. Daria and Rene smiled happily after hearing this, and Radius wondered what was funny about this. Daria explained that those two meddlers are right in front of him now, and Radius' eyes widened in shock after hearing this. Meanwhile, on the ground, Ceres looked at them and wondered what they were talking about, but Flem couldn't hear that as well. On the other hand, Daria clarified that he is the magic sword saint, and Rene explained that he is the absolute demon king. Rene clarified that he really did a number on them 1,000 years ago, and she furiously glared toward Radius. Radius is shocked after hearing this, and he starts laughing when he realizes that is why there are humans who can interfere with him in this era. However, he told them that their souls had inhabited modern humans, and those bodies were still weak, so he wanted to dispose of them before they gained stronger bodies. He started exuding a killing aura as he tried to get rid of them, and he lunged toward them to strike. Both of them evaded the slash, but Radius kept chasing Daria. Rene looked back and called Daria, but she didn't notice that Zieg was already before her. Zieg quickly tried to kill her using his flame, but Rene quickly created a magical barrier to protect herself. Shortly, the barrier broke due to the intensity of the flame, and she was thrown back. Daria worriedly grabbed her and asked if she was all right. He realized that the 4 demon emperors' power exceeded his expectations, so he wanted to use mythical class magic to defeat them in one fell swoop. However, unlike his old body, this one needs a preparatory chant before activation, and he will be defenseless during that time. Rene understood, so she went ahead and asked how long he needed to enchant the magic. After pondering for a while, he clarified that he required 3 minutes. Rene is worried as there is no way she can hold off Radius and that monster simultaneously for 3 minutes. Suddenly, Rudolphin appeared and clarified that he would assist her, and they were startled to see the principal there. Rudolphin is confident that Daria has a plan, so he is willing to hold out for 3 minutes and wants Daria to save this place. Daria affirmed, then he rushed away, leaving those two principal and Rene. After going to the ground, he created an enormous magical circle and started using the mythical class magic, beginning the preparatory chant. Ceres is astonished at seeing him enchant the auxiliary chant. Daria rambled that the mythical class magic is quite a large-scale spell, so to activate it, first, he needs to perform an auxiliary chant as preparation. 1,000 years ago, he could use mythical class magic without an auxiliary chant, but if he did the same thing now, his mind can't handle it. He saw Rene handing Radius, and he commanded Ceres and Flem that for the next 3 minutes, he would be completely defenseless. Therefore, for those 3 minutes, he wanted them not to let a single monster get close to them. Since Rene and the principal will hold off Radius and his group, he wanted them to watch out for the remaining monsters in town. Rene is worried, wondering what she should do if a strong monster appears. Daria is confident that it will be fine since they have been training with him all this time, so the two of them can hold off any monster, and he is counting on them. Both of them understood their task and didn't want to let any monster through them. Even though Ceres was a bit worried about this, after gathering her courage, she agreed to steel her resolve as well. The protagonist thanked both of them, and Moma continued to talk furiously, which delighted him, as it was not just two. He is sure it would be a big help if Moma assists as well, so he wanted everyone to get ready because the 3-minute auxiliary chants are about to start. After all of them got into their position, Daria started enchanting the spell, which reached out to the sky. Radius gets worried on seeing him enhancing the auxiliary chant for mythical class magic, so he didn't want to let him succeed, and he launched countless snakes to attack him. However, Rene quickly stepped on and got rid of those snakes, as she also didn't want to think about the consequences, and gave it her all. So she started fighting more seriously with Radius and kept launching substantial strikes. She clarified that it was for interfering in her final battle with Barua 1,000 years ago, and she wanted to make him regret doing that. Radius is annoyed as he hardly managed to get away. Then he commanded Zieg to strike. Before he could succeed in attempting his strike, Rudolphin raised his hand and started casting special class magic, Legendary Wedge, and launched it toward Zieg. Radius gets worried on seeing these intense attacks on Zieg. Rene appreciated the principal for not performing poorly. The principal clarified that, until recently, he had thought he was the only one at the academy who could use special class magic, but with this much, he could no longer brag. While Radius furiously grits his teeth upon seeing all of his plans failing, he tells them not to interfere. On the other hand, Flem is relieved, as they had somehow been holding them off up there. Ceres worriedly told him to look ahead, as it's a massive horde of monsters, and the second wave is coming toward them. Flem rushed forward as he certainly wanted to stop them. So he used the ultimate sword technique, Infinite Flash, and sliced many of them into pieces. While Ceres also didn't want to let them get to Daria, she flew high and summoned the Prominence Gate to get rid of some of the monsters. At the same time, Moma is also trying to distract one of the monsters. Other teachers stepped in as well, wanting to protect Westgarden at all costs, and they joined in the fight alongside them. All of them kept trying their best to hold off the monsters and Radius from meddling with the chant. After a while, Daria lifted his hand and confirmed that the auxiliary chant was complete, then thanked everyone for their support. Momentarily, several magical circles appeared around the town, and Daria told Radius that this was the end, so he used the mythical class magic Divine Horizon. The entire sky is filled with divine lights, which annoyed Radius, as he had wanted to destroy the academy and declare the revival of the demon clan. Thus, his plan was ruined. He is pissed because this rage boiling in his chest isn't quenched, and he never wanted to forget this moment. While being attacked by the Divine Horizon, Radius clarified that even in this modern era, he would surely kill the magical sword saint again. After he disappeared, all the remaining monsters in the town were being attacked by the Divine Horizon, thus protecting the students fighting with them and aiding them. After a while, some of the Divine Horizon is launched towards Zieg, completely vanishing in its place. After everything was over, Daria came down and took a deep breath, relieved that they had somehow managed to protect the academy. On the other side, outside the academy, a magic circle appeared, and Radius came out of it half burned out. He feels as if he is unable to hold his body and is annoyed because his plan has failed again. He hardly stood and thought that, by other means, the demon clan had regained its former great power, so he wanted to let the world know. He is aware that if they retreat after losing to those academy folks, it will damage the demon clan's dignity, as they are brainless, uncouth fools who only have brute strength. He created a communication magical circle and kept calling Gara, the demon emperor of annihilation, to ask if he could hear him. Radius clarified that the plan needed to be changed, so it was his turn, and he wanted Gara to forget about the academy now. Instead, he should invade the heart of this country, the royal capital, Lassville, and annihilate it. The next day in the academy town, all the civilians were busy repairing the damaged buildings, and students were also helping to restore the academy. Meanwhile, in the academy principal's office, Rudolphin clarified that those who had previously attacked the Burrito Academy were the ones who had been lying low on the western edge of the continent for 1,000 years. They are the demon clan, so he clarified that is his understanding and asked if he is mistaken. Daria explained that he and Rene have been aware of signs of the demon clan's revival for a while now, and the reason they went to acquire mythical class magic was to counter the demon clans. Ceres is dumbfounded after hearing that, as she didn't know about this. Daria kept elucidating that the one they fought was at the top of the current demon clan and one of the 4 demon emperors, Radius, the demon emperor of cunning. He is sure that from this moment onward, even though not as powerful as the 4 demon emperors, demons with considerable strength will keep emerging from the western edge of the continent. Rudolphin gets worried after hearing this because most humans can't stand up to powerful demons. Daria affirmed that this is precisely why they need to train many humans to counter the demon clan. Rudolphin understood, and he knew that a place most suitable for this training at this time was the Daria faction that the protagonist had established, and it was conveniently perfect for this purpose. After giving it some thought, the principal inquired if that was the original purpose for creating the Daria faction, but Daria didn't provide the exact answer to them. Rudolphin heard that during the attack, aside from the teachers, only the students of the Daria faction were able to fight the monster in the academy. Among the students who witnessed their fighting prowess, many have decided to join the Daria faction. The protagonist is relieved to hear that, as it means more people will be able to fight against the demon clans. Principal Rudolphin welcomed this wholeheartedly, and is sure that even the teachers who didn't think well of the Daria faction wouldn't say anything now. However, he wanted Daria to know that it wasn't just students who witnessed the Daria faction's achievement and his mythical class magic. Among those who took shelter in these school buildings were royal nobles and executives from the Central Magic Institute and the Supreme Swordsmanship Society. The protagonist becomes worried upon hearing this, as he understands everything, but he still asks for confirmation of its meaning. The principal laughed as he told him that it was trouble, with so many matters that he disliked awaiting him. He wanted Daria to attend to the matter and return to the academy quickly. Until then, he is willing to oversee the Daria faction training. As soon as the principal finished the explanation, the royal guard barged in and announced that Daria and his party by the royal command and order of His Majesty King Ra's royal crown, should proceed immediately to the royal capital, Lasful. Furthermore, he should report the entire account of this battle with the demon clan before the king. The guard repeats that this is a royal command, and the protagonist becomes worried upon seeing this, as he can't believe what is happening. After a while, the protagonist is taken to the royal capital, Lasful, along with his comrade. Saris looked outside the window and was delighted as she could see it now. She can finally see the royal capital of this country, the Kingdom of Roral. Daria realized that it was the Kingdom of Roral, and Saris could not believe that he was starting from there, and supposed Daria's memories were fading again. He recalled that this place had a different name 1,000 years ago, and the country he knew is now gone. Saris is somewhat confused after considering the revival of the demon clan, the existence of the 4 demon emperors, and the king's summoning. She felt a bit dizzy since there was too much information that she still couldn't process. Daria explained that they were summoned by the king this time because the envoy from the royal capital, who was attending the festival, had apparently reported their battle with Radius to the king using magic. The protagonist is a bit concerned by their quick response, as he thought it would be normal to dismiss the absurd idea of the demon clan revival in this era. However, one day after they drove Radius away, the country immediately took action, so he is sure there might be an issue in the royal capital that is serious enough for them to accept the report of the demon clan revival readily. Saris is surprised to hear that he wanted him to wait, as they had just defeated one of the 4 demon emperors who attacked the academy, and he had just said they drove them away. Daria affirmed, telling him that it is right because Radius isn't dead, but at the end of the battle, he certainly felt his magical power fleeing far away. Renee is sure that Radius might have suffered severe injuries, so he wouldn't be able to move for a while. Flem never thought that Daria's full power magic couldn't finish him off. The protagonist is confident that Radius will regroup and surely resume the invasion. Until then, they need to help humanity to prepare for a counterattack, even if just a little. After arriving at the castle entrance, the royal guard informed that the king is waiting in the audience chamber ahead and requested that they be mindful of their manners. Soon, the door opened, and they entered the audience chamber, where they knelt before the king. However, Renee was still standing, so Flem pulled her to her knees. Ra's royal crown has been waiting for them, so he wanted them to raise their faces and stand. The king is sure that if they focus too much on etiquette, then they might neglect the important matters at hand. He is glad to see them come all the way there and clarified that he couldn't believe his ears when he heard that the students defeated the demons who invaded Burrito Academy. But at the same time, he felt relieved, and the protagonist was surprised to listen to this, wondering what he was relieved about. The king explained that there is no one in the royal army capable of properly defeating monsters, so he was lamenting about this. Recently, throughout the kingdom, monsters have become terribly ferocious, so they sent mages and swordsmen from the royal army to subjugate monsters in various regions, but they all ended up retreating. The king is concerned that the country will eventually perish at this rate, so to him who was in despair, Daria and his comrades showed a glimmer of hope. The protagonist finally understood the entire situation, and the king requested him to tell him the details of their battle with the demon clan. He wanted to find clues to protect the country from this moment onward. After that, Daria and his comrades started explaining the details of the fight, but Renee was feeling a bit sleepy. After hearing about the details, the king realized that Daria's achievement is impressive, and it's also good news that the disciples and students he has trained have gained the power to be effective against monsters. So he is sure that if the current royal army undergoes proper training, they should be able to fight against monsters. The protagonist wanted to be honest that the level of magic and swordsmanship in this country is low. But if people with solid knowledge and real ability provide guidance, they can obtain the power to counter monsters. Therefore, he mentioned that the king's understanding is correct that proper training can be helpful. Ra's royal crown thought it was unfortunate that the demon clan and monsters regained their immense power, but it was fortunate that excellent individuals like Daria had appeared. Therefore, the king ordered Daria and his group that, from this day forward, they would all be appointed as supervisors for the training of the royal army for a limited time. Saris is entirely in shock, and she shouted loudly. This woke Renee up. She rubbed her eyes and asked if the conversation was over. On the other side of the lake, a vast monster dived inside. Then it glared out of the water and jumped out as if it was fully prepared to devour humanity. Later, at the Rural Kingdom Army training ground, Daria explained that for a while, he had been assigned to supervise the kingdom's army training. He introduced himself and explained that, for now, he had gathered there those who were considered the elite of the kingdom's army. He wanted each of them to become capable of defeating large monsters on their own, so he excitedly told them they should do it. He saw the cold glare of the soldiers at him and realized that he wasn't welcomed there. Saris affirmed that this is the case because everyone gathered there is among the most capable in the kingdom army. But to be suddenly told that a student will be supervising their training, she thinks it's natural that they can't accept it. Abruptly, one of the soldiers emerged after hearing the news, confirming it was true, and Saris became scared because they had heard her. The soldier clarified that no one would believe such a story that they repelled the revived demon clan. He explained that even they who are elite are struggling to defeat medium-sized monsters, so there is no way a mere student could drive away higher-ranking demons. He is certain that Burrito Academy has truly fallen, as they believe such ridiculous lies from their students. He furiously glared at Daria, telling him that even if they all were to come at him at once, they couldn't even defeat him alone. While he is talking, Renee gets infuriated, so she quickly kicks him in the face and throws him far away, stunning all the other soldiers. Saris gets worried after seeing this, but Renee winked because for people like them, showing them their actual strength is best. Saris worriedly asked her senior what she was doing, but Renee started laughing excitedly. At the same time, one of the soldiers approached the green-haired soldier and asked if he was alright. Saris is worried that if she picks a fight like that, it will only make them further infuriated. All the soldiers started furiously staring at them and were ready to attack, which scared Saris. Flem expected this of the kingdom elite, and Daria remarked that they are all quite hot-blooded. While Saris kept asking for help, Renee decided to leave the rest to her. The soldiers were prepared to fight as they realized that Saris looked the weakest among them, and they were sure that she couldn't defeat monsters. All of them started attacking her and wanted her to admit that they were lying and go back to their academy. Saris is so scared that she decides to summon Prominence Gate, but she only says the first word, which confuses all the soldiers, who wonder what she means. But as soon as she summoned the Prominence Gate, all of the elite soldiers got scared. Saris opened her eyes, wondering what was happening, so she saw them standing in the corner, trembling and wondering why everyone was there. Daria appreciated her for doing well, as he was sure they would listen to what they had to say. He announced that day he wanted everyone to observe them defeating a large monster. Since they had already received a subjugation request from the king, Daria explained that there was a lake near the royal capital, so they were going to defeat the large monster living there, which was the lake predator. Later, they were at the lake predator habitat, and the green-haired soldier understood that they weren't ordinary students, but he couldn't fully believe the story about them repelling the demon clan. He explained that the lake predator they are targeting has lived in this area for a long time, but it was small and harmless. However, it suddenly grew enormous and came to dominate this lake recently. The kingdom's army was dispatched because they were powerless against it, so the soldier wondered if Daria could really defeat such a creature. The protagonist realized that sudden, enormous growth is also an effect of the demon's clan and the diffusion of magical power. He told the outside that there is no problem as they will defeat it quickly and prove their ability. Abruptly, the soldiers saw a shadow emerging from the lake, and they became scared because it was the lake's predator. As soon as the monster emerged from the lake, the soldiers began to run away, and the green-haired soldier started trembling with fear. Daria summoned the magic circle, telling them this level of monster is enough for him alone. He used his special class magic, Extreme Javelin, and an arrow emerged from the circle that struck the beast, and soon it was knocked down. All of them were surprised on seeing this, and Daria couldn't believe it was over in one hit when he wanted to show a bit more of a fight. The green-haired soldiers sensed some movement, so he told the protagonist to wait, and suddenly the lake predator started rising again, which shocked both of them. After pondering for a while, Daria finally realized that it might be the real deal. As soon as the monster rose again, it started breathing out enormous amounts of water to attack its target. The protagonist is concerned, seeing that movement because it means a big attack is coming. He looked behind him as he didn't want to involve anyone, so he quickly started flying and told the monster to look at him. Momentarily, the monster stared up and launched enormous water at Daria that he managed to block, but some of it struck him. He wiped his face and remarked that it's not bad, but in the present day, he needs to show the royal army how to take down a large monster, so he wanted the lake predator to be a good example of a fight. Shortly, the monster again opened its mouth and started launching the water bullets at him, but Daria evaded all of them. As he continued to progress, he was startled when he noticed the monster waving its tail to attack him. The tail struck him, causing him to fall, which concerned the green-haired soldier. However, as soon as he drew near the lake, he quickly started flying again, telling the soldier that it was no problem. He charged toward the monster and used his ultimate swordsmanship technique, Sky Dance Tempest, to strike the monster. Before he could succeed in his attack, the monster began going on a rampage, twirling its body, which created a tornado. Daria was swept in that water tornado and couldn't believe it as he was unable to control his body. While he was trying to control his body, he saw the monster approaching him and threw him far away. Daria managed to hold himself back, supposed the monster might have done it, but his eyes widened in shock as he saw the monster getting prepared for the next attack. He knew that dodging it wouldn't make it in time, so he decided to borrow Dalha's power and wanted to see its true worth, which is capable of cutting through special class magic. As soon as the monster launched his attack at him, Daria started cutting it with Dalha while slowly approaching the monster. The monster is startled on seeing this, but Daria clarified that it is over. He started attacking the monster and unleashed several strikes on it, so after a while, he succeeded in subjugating it. After successfully killing the monster, he returned to the shore and clarified that this is how he wants everyone in the royal army to become capable of doing this much on their own. All the soldiers were in awe of witnessing his victory, and the green-haired soldier is still in the denial phase, telling him that it is impossible. The protagonist looked around, couldn't find Renee, and asked where she had gone. Saris explained that Senior Renee said that she is going to investigate something about the demon clan and left early. Daria is pissed about learning that she went home while people were fighting. Then he looked at the soldier, telling them that to gain the power to defeat large monsters like the lake predator, he wanted to start some special training. He started laughing cunningly, which scared the soldier. The next day, in an unknown location, the blue-haired girl, Yu Iruno, who was the director of the Central Magic Institute, was sleeping soundly, but she soon woke up. She looked outside the window, yawned, and thought it was another sluggish morning with the beginning of another unpleasant job. She started getting ready, even though she wanted to sleep too long, and is aware that she will get scolded if she does that. While opening the door to leave, she wonders if anything is interesting to do. On the other hand, the protagonist stands before a lavish mansion and wonders if it is indeed true that they can freely use this mansion while in the royal capital. Flem is aware that it is usually only available to state-level guests, but he wanted to express his gratitude to the king for arranging this. Daria recalled the bed and said that even the bedroom in the royal castle, where they had stayed for the past few days, was already plenty comfortable. However, to provide them with an even more luxurious mansion, the king is quite capable of doing so. Saris becomes worried upon hearing him and looks around, reminding Daria that it would be bad if someone were to listen to him talking like that. The protagonist doesn't care, so he quickly opens the door, telling Moma to come along, as he wants to explore inside. He started looking around the mansion along with Moma and was surprised to see Renee eating in the dining room. The butler asked Renee about the taste of the food, and Daria couldn't believe that she was already eating. While the butler wiped her face, Renee inquired why Daria was so noisy. The butler accosted Daria and apologized for the late greeting, introducing himself as Ito, the butler assigned to this mansion during their stay in the royal capital. He assured him that they would provide them with the utmost hospitality and told Daria not to hesitate to ask for anything. Daria is surprised to see so many servants before him, and Saris also feels like she has become nobility. Ito apologized for the sudden matter, but 2 letters have arrived for Daria. The protagonist is startled upon hearing about the letter, and he starts glaring at it, strangely thinking of it as an ominous thing. After looking at it closely, Saris realized these letters are from the Central Magic Institute and the Supreme Swordsmanship Society, respectively. Daria is infuriated because both are troublesome authoritarian organizations, so it seems like a hassle to him, no matter how he looks at it. Flem grabbed the letter and asked if it was all right if he opened it. Daria told him to do that as he doesn't feel like opening them himself. Flem understood, so he opened one of the letters and began reading its contents, and he understood. The protagonist inquired again about who sent these letters. Flem clarified it as he expected, and both letters have almost the same content, as they want to talk to Daria once. Daria is annoyed as he is sure it's not written in such a friendly way. Flem started paraphrasing the letter, as it says that Daria should be grateful for being summoned by the highest authority in the kingdom, and they are sure he is coming to see them. The protagonist is infuriated on hearing this and finds it a pain to solve. He noticed that the royal army was also divided between mages and swordsmen. Therefore, both the Central Magic Institute and the Supreme Swordsmanship Society are just hindering human unity. Furthermore, they are calling him separately in the first place, so he thinks it would be faster to meet them all together at the royal castle. Flem supposed they might be competing to see who can summon Daria first. The protagonist felt down after hearing this, and Flem can understand how Daria feels. Saris clarified that in reality, as long as they are living in the royal capital for a while, they cannot ignore the summons from both organizations. Most of the main markets and ships in the royal capital have a deep connection with one of these two major organizations. Therefore, if they ignore this summons, then life in the royal capital might become difficult. Daria sighed after hearing this, as he guessed there was no choice, so he wanted to get the troublesome matter over with quickly. Saris inquired which of the magic institutions and the Swordsmanship Society they should visit first. Daria had a bad feeling about the Swordsmanship Society since they once forced Flem to have a match with him. Therefore, he wanted to start with the Central Magic Institute. Meanwhile, at the Magic Institute, Yu Yu Iruno is working hard when someone knocks at the door, and she realizes that they are there. She excitedly opened the door, glad to see Daria as she had been waiting for him and his friends. Daria explained that they came to meet the head of the Central Magic Institute, who might be a bearded old man, and asked if he was out. Yu Yu Iruno is confused, wondering what he is talking about, as she is the head of the Central Magic Institute. She told them to come inside and clarified that the reason she called them this time was because one of their direct mage had filmed Daria using mythical class magic, and she had been shown that video recording. She is sure that Daria is aware that most people don't understand how amazing it is to use mythical class magic. The protagonist is a bit confused, and Yu Yu Iruno uttered that even the principal of Burrito Academy, when he heard Daria had mastered mythical class magic, seemed to casually accept it, thinking he could already use special class magic. However, the pain of accepting the idea that a scroll is not something that can be endured by someone who can merely use special class magic. Yu Yu Iruno clarified that she can understand it because she is someone with experience, so she wanted him to tell her all about the mythical class magic. Daria asked her when she said experience, does it mean she has also touched the idea scroll? Yu Yu Iruno affirmed, telling him that she also wanted to obtain mythical class magic. So she went to an ancient ruin in an underground cave that only the Central Magic Institute knows about. And when she touched the idea scroll in the ruin, she was overwhelmed by a wave of knowledge. She nearly died in the process and failed to acquire the mythical class magic. After hearing her story, the protagonist thought she was lucky, as she hadn't lost her life. Saris is shocked to learn that even the head of the Central Magic Institute, who is the top of all mages, couldn't acquire it. She gets terrified of thinking Daria managed to acquire mythical class magic and asks who he is. The protagonist smiled proudly as he was sure she might think he was pretty amazing. Yu Yu Iruno clarified that she didn't fail to acquire the mythical class magic, because, after becoming the head of the Magic Institute, she didn't try it. But that story was when she was still an apprentice, and she failed at that time. Daria is shocked to hear about that and cannot believe that she touched the idea scroll as an apprentice and survived. Yu Yu Iruno affirmed that it is true, and Daria found it unbelievable, as even he couldn't dare to try until he became the Magic Sword Saint, because it was too dangerous. He is sure that if she survived as a mage apprentice, then if she tries now, she can get it. Yu Yu Iruno told him that she was the love magic, since she had always been shy and didn't have any friends. But she had a talent for magic, so she always played with magic. She wanted to be able to use all the magic existing before she died, and that includes mythical class magic. That is why she wanted to ask Daria various things and try again. The protagonist understood that, and Yu Yu Iruno excitedly grabbed him as she wanted to know how many types of magic he could use in total. She also wanted to know his specialty attribute and where he learned magic. She kept moving his head and asked if he knew any other places where idea scrolls exist. Daria hardly got out of her grasp and went back, and wanted her to calm down for a moment. He remembers that she said she was shy earlier, but it seems like a lie now. Yu Yu Iruno clarified that it's not a lie because she can talk like this when it's about magic. But usually, even with people from the Magic Institute, she can't greet them properly, and she tries to get away. She is aware that she isn't suited for the position of head of the Magic Institute. After failing to acquire the mythical class magic, she was frustrated, and she only thought about growing as a mage, and then she ended up in this position. But she only thinks about magic, and she is just a magic otaku. But since she is valued for that aspect, And she is in this position. She still can't give up mythical class magic. Therefore, she wanted Daria to tell her if, in her current state, she can acquire mythical class magic. Daria realized that she was serious about acquiring that magic, so he told her not to give him her hand. She agreed, then reached out, and Daria started checking her magic power. After inspecting for a while, he opened his eyes and, as expected of the top modern mage, her magical power is sufficient. The next thing he wanted to check was how much external stimulation he could endure. He clarified that he will know if he pours his magical power into her. He started infusing his power into her body and told her to endure it as much as she could. After a while, the things around her began to float due to the magic impact, but she kept enduring it. Daria is aware that the actual pain is nothing like this, so if she can't tolerate this, he will make her give up on mythical class magic. After a while, she started feeling intense pain, but she kept holding his hand and wanted to acquire mythical magic this time at all costs. For that, she was willing to endure this pain. After hearing this, Daria smirked, released her hand, and told her that she passed. He explained that, in her current state, there is a possibility that she can acquire mythical class magic. Yu Aruno is glad to hear that, and the protagonist asked her where the idea scroll is that she is going to challenge. Yu Aruno clarified that it is the place she mentioned earlier, located south of the royal capital, surrounded by large rocky mountains and increasingly ferocious monsters. That is a place no one approaches now and is known as Kataru Underground Cave. After some time, the protagonist is waiting for Yu in the market to go to the ruins. When he was summoned by the head of the Central Magic Institute, he thought it would be troublesome. But he never expected to be involved in acquiring mythical class magic. Furthermore, they are leaving that day since Yu told him to wait a bit as she is ready at that time, but that is too sudden. But he supposes that level of enthusiasm is necessary for the institute head. After a while, Yu Aruno arrived and apologized to Daria for keeping him waiting. Daria saw her acting strangely, so he wondered what was wrong. Yu kept avoiding people and reminded him that she had already told him that she is shy around people. Daria is surprised to learn that she is entirely different from what she was earlier. Yu clarified that earlier, they had been discussing magic, which made her feel a bit more comfortable. The protagonist turned to leave and suggested they should speak about her favorite topic, magic, as they went to their destination, the Kataru Underground Cave. Kataru Underground Cave is appropriately located in a rocky mountainous area south of the royal capital. He didn't know that the idea scroll was stored there, and because they didn't know what dangers awaited there, they decided only the institute's head and Daria would go this time. The protagonist was going to watch the institute head as she acquired mythical class magic, and he would also obtain new mythical class magic himself, as that is their goal for this trip. While on their way, Yu explained that it was challenging for her, but thanks to special training, she can use multiple special class magic simultaneously. The protagonist is surprised to hear this and realizes that the gap in her personality change from being shy to talkative is genuinely remarkable. But still, he expected this much from the institute head. Furthermore, the content she is talking about so happily is highly advanced. Yu explained that no one else around her could do it, but she is sure that Daria could do it and asked if she was right. The protagonist thought about the simultaneous activation of special class magic, a task that only genius mages could accomplish even 1,000 years ago. However, he can do it too, so after giving it some thought, he explained that with special class magic, he can activate about 10 types simultaneously. Yu is amazed to hear that because her limit is 3 types. The protagonist is dumbfounded and quite mortified because it's not impossible, but he exaggerated a bit, and it has no practical use. He suggested that they should head to the Kataru Underground Cave soon. Yu reminded him that they had already started walking. The protagonist is aware that on foot it will take too long, but it's just him and Yu, so using flying magic would be faster. Yu understood and explained that she typically matches pace with everyone who can't use flying magic, so she was planning to walk this time as well. Daria sighed because if they walked, then they had to camp out alone together for several days, which Yu might hate. Yu Aruno pondered for a while and clarified that she would hate it with other people around her, but with Daria, they could talk about magic the whole time, so that she wouldn't mind it. The protagonists understood, but he still thought the institute head couldn't be away for days. Furthermore, he needs to oversee the royal army training as well, so he is counting on her to guide them to their destination. Yu understood, so she began using flying magic and continued to lead the way. After a while, they finally arrived at Kataru's underground cave. Daria was surprised to see the cave, as even he didn't really want to enter with this atmosphere. He realized it's the perfect place to hide the idea scroll. Abruptly, he is startled to sense strange energy, and shortly, there is a roar. He worriedly inquired about that roar just now. So Yu explained that there are pretty dangerous, large monsters inside the cave, so if they encounter one, they had to run away. The protagonist wondered why they should run away instead of defeating it. Yu explained that the last time she came there, she fought that monster, but that thing repelled her special class magic. The protagonist is surprised as it repelled special class magic and figured out it might be the enemy that can use magic. Yu refused, as that wasn't the case, but it seemed to have a special, hard shell, which looked like neither physical nor magical attacks worked at all. The protagonist realized that it was the worst, so they had no choice but to avoid it. Yu told him that it's okay cause the inside of the cave is like a maze, and last time she managed to escape and reach the idea scroll. She is confident because she vaguely remembers the cave structure, so she has the feeling that they can avoid being found at all this time. After a while, they confronted the monster that had scared Yu, and Daria reminded her of what she had said. He looked at the ferocious monster and already knew what he should do, so he clarified that they should start running again. They started running away while being chased by the monster, and Yu kept screaming in fear of being caught. Abruptly, the protagonist grabbed her hand and took her to the other way, which made the beast hit its head against the wall ahead. The protagonist is glad to see that massive crash and is confident they can easily shake it off. Soon, he saw the monster in front of him again, so he realized he might be unable to avoid it. He started casting the magic, even though he had heard that it could repel special class magic. He wanted to give it a try himself, so he used special class magic, Azure Cut Down. The slash went toward the monster, but it struck with its shell and bounced back. Daria and Yu hardly managed to evade it, but after looking at the harm inflicted by it, he realized it is undoubtedly the type of enemy they shouldn't engage. He recalled that even in the era of the Magic Sword Saint, 1,000 years ago, there were monsters that couldn't be defeated. These include monsters with immortal abilities, such as those that multiply during battle. Since even mastering magic and swordsmanship doesn't mean he can defeat every enemy, Daria is aware that retreating is essential sometimes. He started running away along with Yu again, launched a strike toward the monster, and wanted to take it. His slash broke a rock from the ceiling that hit the monster's head, but it shattered into pieces. The monster became infuriated, so it started roaring and continued attacking Daria with its horn, also trying to attack Yu. Daria cast a magic circle to stop it, and Yu started feeling dizzy as he couldn't do it anymore, as her strength was drained. The protagonist asked her how she escaped the last time she came there. Yu Iruno explained that time there was a small service just the right size for her body, so she squeezed in and waited it out. The protagonist can't believe that she squeezed in, and he gets worried as he sees the monster approaching again. He started running again while telling her that they would not be lucky enough to find a service big enough for both of them. He knew that they needed to shake it off somehow and looked at Yu, who was exhausted, so he wondered what he should do. Momentarily, he sensed the water flowing under his feet and kept following it as it continued ahead. Soon, they arrived at the cliff that led to the underground water. Yu looked down, wondering where this was, and Daria realized that the underground water was gathering in one place. However, he thought this was lucky because no matter how impenetrable its hard shell might be, falling from this height would damage its internal organs. Therefore, he is sure that the monster will instinctively avoid it. As soon as the beast tried to attack them, Daria jumped down along with Yu with the hope of seeing it later. Yu started shouting with fear as she thought they were going to die. The protagonist wondered what she was saying, as they had flying magic. In an attempt to activate flying magic, Yu kept activating Seral magic at the time. Daria told her to calm down, as she shouldn't activate unnecessary magic. He tried to cast a magic, but got worried because the flying magic was interfering with other magics, so that it wouldn't activate. He started casting another spell to absorb some impact, and soon they fell into the water. The monster looked down for a while, didn't see anyone coming out of the water, so it left. Shortly after the monster left Daria, Yu emerged from the water. The protagonist is relieved because they managed to shake it off safely, but Daria is afraid he might catch a cold. Yu apologized to him, then she used the combination of wind and fire magic to dry him, and they continued their journey. After a while, they finally arrived at the place where the idea scroll was present, and he told Yu to try it first. He was willing to wait there so he could help her if she failed. Yu Yu understood, so she stepped forward and thanked him for his help. As soon as she got near the idea scroll, the scroll started surrounding her, and Yu Yu wanted to make sure to receive the knowledge from the idea scroll this time at all costs, as she tried to master all magic before she died.